Okay, I think I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for everybody being flexible and adaptable and becoming technological experts. So I'd like to call the December 4, 2020 meeting of the Board of Regents held by remote video conference, audio call-in, and as always, our practice being streamed over Nebraska EDU website. This meeting is held in accordance with the Executive Order number 20-36. Welcome to everybody who is connecting and listening to today's meeting. The notice to this meeting and the Open Meetings Act were posted a week ago. The notice to this meeting at the front entry of Arner Hall, 3835 Holdridge Street, where we usually meet, as well as our public posting found on the university website. Stacia, please call roll.
Regent Beal.
Here.
Regent Miller.
Here.
Regent Moore.
Here.
Regent Schroeder.
Here.
Regent Claire.
Here.
Regent Hawks.
Here.
Regent Kenny.
Here.
Regent O'Connor.
Here.
Regent Ferris.
Here.
Regent Pillen.
Here.
Regent Schaefer.
Here.
Regent Whites.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Next is the approval of minutes and ratification of actions taken on 8 of October 2020 meeting. So in your materials, you've had a copy of the minutes from the meeting of October 8. I'd entertain a motion for approval. Regent Schaefer, would you so do?
So moved.
Second. If there aren't any comments of the minutes or corrections.
I'll second that motion too.
Thank you, Regent Ferris. Please call roll.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. In compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, the board has posted a copy of the act in the front of entry of Arner Hall. As you know, at the beginning of each of our meetings, we take time to kudos public servants from each of our campuses to recognize great, outstanding work. It's one of the disappointing things of being virtual that we're not able to recognize our honorees in person. I hope that this morning's honorees appreciate the kudos award, that we take the time, but probably the most important of all is you're nominated by your colleague, your peers, and to me, that's the greatest of honor of all. So our first kudos recipient is Jenny Jansky from the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Beal. Regent Beal.
Thank you. The Board of Regents is pleased to present a kudos award to Jenny Jansky, Director of Education Certification at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. From UNK's earliest days as Nebraska State Normal School at Kearney and Nebraska State Teachers College at Kearney, the certification of teachers and school administrators continues to represent one of the most important roles. The position of Director of Education Certification requires a person who is student and program focused, pays great attention to detail, and who has the ability to build and maintain productive working relationships with certification colleagues across the state. Jenny excels in all these categories. Her primary responsibility is management of the UNK Educator Certification Office, which serves as a resource center for future educators and assists them as they apply and gain admission to the teacher education program, are placed in student teaching assignments, and as they eventually apply for certification. Jenny works closely with multiple departments in the Nebraska Department of Education to ensure compliance with policies set forth by the department and the legislature. She holds appointment as a member of the Nebraska Council of Teacher Education and as an officer of the Nebraska Association of Colleges for Teacher Education. Jenny does a tremendous job of overseeing the Educator Certification Office, says Dr. Mark Reed, Dean of UNK's College of Education. And her office does an amazing job of serving our students. In short, Jenny is my go-to person for all things related to teacher and administrator certification. A past recipient of the College of Education's Outstanding Staff Award, Jenny is most proud of the student-centered culture in the certification office, especially evident during the pandemic. Everyone has stepped up to avoid additional stress on students and faculty, she says. Both Jenny and her two daughters are UNK graduates. It is my pleasure to recognize and congratulate Jenny Jansky for commitment and achievement that extend beyond the ordinary.
Thank you, Regent Beal. Congratulations, Jenny. And on behalf of the board, thank you for all that you do. Next is Regent Miller will present the Kudos Award to Karen Kassebaum from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Regent Miller.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Karen Kassebaum, Assistant Vice Chancellor for Inclusive Leadership and Learning at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Karen has worked at UNL for 16 years, first serving in the role of Director of Recruitment for the College of Education and Human Sciences, then the Director of Staff Diversity and Inclusion for Human Resources, before assuming her current role this year. According to her nominator, Karen has been a driving force behind UNL's inclusive leadership and learning efforts. For many years, she has been the face of our diversity and inclusion efforts among faculty, staff, and students. Her viewpoints are fueled by research and actual experiences. Karen has led the Ouch, That Stereotype Hurts training program for faculty to help understand the impact of stereotypes and bias statements. She has also organized numerous events for students, faculty, and staff to advance diversity and inclusion efforts in the workplace, including Check Your Blind Spots, which brought to campus a multimedia trailer with information about unconscious biases people hold. Day of Understanding, which addresses how to have civil and useful conversations on topics related to diversity and inclusion. And Check In, Speak Up, Show Up, a series of events for staff ideas the university can foster an inclusive workplace, which includes a personal pledge to check my bias, speak up for others, and show up for all. In addition to her UNL work, Karen founded Athlete to Athlete, which provides transitional mentoring and leadership development for student athletes. She is a recipient of the Chancellor's Fulfilling the Dream Award, given to those who exemplify the values of Martin Luther King Jr., and is a proud alum of UNL, where she earned her PhD in Educational Leadership and Higher Education. Please join me in thanking Karen for her dedication to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Yay.
Hey, can I also add that I echo exactly what Ronnie said. Karen has done an outstanding job at UNL, and we're very, very fortunate to have her leadership and guidance and wisdom on the campus.
Thanks, Regent Clare. Thanks, Regent Miller, and congratulations, Karen, and thank you. Next is Kimberly McLaughlin from the University of Nebraska Medical Center is our next recipient. Regent Ferries will make the presentation. Regent Ferries.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I'm pleased to present a Kudos Award to Kim McLaughlin. She's the administrator for the educational program in UNMC's Department of Surgery. Kim transitioned into this role in early 2019 and immediately began to learn all she could about the student rotations, the roles, the responsibilities of her team. Her nominator praised her with a team first attitude mentality. Kim, she said, has brought new ideas to the department, including streamlining work that was being done manually and creating an electronic process to improve communication across the team. These changes have made for more productive and smoother processes. Described as a team builder, Kim is eager to help anyone who needs support, advice, or assistance. If you listen closely, her nominator said, you'll hear Kim say several times a day, "Is there anything I can do for you today. Said her nominator, we can count on her for anything. Kim's knowledge, commitment to staff and faculty, her mentoring abilities and work ethic encourages and inspires others to have that same drive and passion. She brings out the best in all of us, her nominator said. So please join me in thanking Kim for her exceptional service to the Medical Center and to the Department of Surgery team. Congratulations, Kim.
Thanks, Regent Ferries, and congratulations, Kim. Next is recognizing kudos recipient is Mike Nicola from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Our next recipient award will be presented by Regional Connor. Regional Connor.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a kudos award to Mike Nicola, Assistant Athletic Director for Athletic Performance within the University of Nebraska at Omaha Athletics Department, also known as Omaha Athletics. Mike joined Omaha Athletics in 2013, originally as an assistant athletic trainer, working with the Maverick baseball team, who won their first Summit League championship that season, before being promoted to head athletic director and eventually assistant athletic director for athletic performance this past October. When COVID-19 paused athletic competition for Maverick sports, it was Mike who stepped up to establish new protocols to keep student athletes safe while still being able to practice and stay active. Mike has been recognized as a true leader in recent months, working closely not only with UNO campus leaders, but also UNMC experts, the Summit League, and the National Collegiate Hockey Conference. In particular, his work in establishing safety protocols for student athletes was a deciding factor in Omaha being selected as a location for the National Collegiate Hockey Conference's pod system, which will allow other universities to engage in Division I hockey competition this December at UNO's Baxter Arena. Mike has certainly earned the respect and confidence of our campus and conference partners, says Trev Alberts, UNO Vice Chancellor for Athletics and Athletic Director. Through his hard work, innovation, and commitment to the health and well-being of UNO student athletes, Mike Nicola represents a true Maverick spirit that is an inspiration to anyone he works with. Please join me in thanking Mike for his dedication and service to the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Thank you, Regional Connor, and congratulations, Mike. On behalf of the board, we say thank you. I think it is important to, for everybody listening to remember, obviously, our dedicated faculty does great work and make us who we are. However, the recipients and all of the people that are faculty are on staff and support from all of our board seats are incredible public servants and do great and have an incredible impact on making our university what it is. So thank you. Next portion of our meeting, we'll have spend some time on a couple updates. Our first presentation today is the annual report on distance learning. The Board of Regents Distance Learning of Education, presented by Mary Nemick, Associate Vice President for Digital Education and Director of University of Nebraska Online. Mary, thank you for being here. Thanks for all you do. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Regent Pillen. Thank you, Charles. Well, good morning, everybody. The first thing I'd like to do is to introduce you to a few folks here. The woman on your right is Melissa Schmall. She was in social work. She is in the social work program in the MSW program at UNO. She is an Omaha, Nebraska firefighter, a paramedic, and a mother of four. Next to her is Pedro Landano. Pedro is in the MBA program at Lincoln. He's based in Miami, Florida, and during his program, he traveled to Central America and the Caribbean for work. He's worked in Fortune 500 companies. Also in the square, next to Pedro, is Corey Alvarez. Corey Alvarez got his master's in history from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. And did this while he was deployed to Guam. He sought the program because of flexibility for military duties, and Corey's intent is to teach at the college level. And then Angelia Wimberly, University of Nebraska Medical Center. She's in the MS in Emergency Preparedness. Angelia is an Afghan Air Force veteran, surgical tech, and she chose these online classes so she could balance being a mother, caring for her sick father, and working full-time. Charles? So today I'm going to share a few things with you, but I thought it was very important for you to be introduced to 4 of our over 8,000 students who study fully at a distance with the University of Nebraska. They represent the diversity, the scope, the access that our campuses provide. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the NU Online overview, provide you with data for the academic year 1920, discuss a bit about the marketing efforts for NU Online, and then provide you with information about the University of Nebraska High School. Charles? Thank you. So what is NU Online? NU Online is an academic partnership. It's not a separate entity. It's a collaboration, and its strength comes from that and from the coordination between the 4 campuses and central administration. It builds on the uniqueness of each campus. It shares effective practices across the system, creates efficiencies, processes, and as a result, as you'll see a little bit later, has a very robust online portfolio of offerings. Because of what we do, we're able to strategically address access and affordability. And because of what we do as a whole, we're able to respond to state, public, and corporate needs. Charles? So NU Online's been around for 10 years. Some of you early on may have remembered it as University of Nebraska Online Worldwide when we first started. It began with in 2010, early 2010, when the website went live with 65 online programs from across the system. That next academic year, fall, summer, spring of AY 10-11, NU Online went fully operational. At that time, we enrolled 3,000 Nebraska residents fully online, and a total of 4,000 students at a distance. And NU students at that time, over 20,000 were taking at least one course online. 10 years later, we have 155 programs online. We have over 5,500 Nebraska residents who study with one of our campuses fully online. And we have over 8,000 students across this country who study with the University of Nebraska. And even pre-pandemic, we had 35,000 students taking at least one online course. Charles? So the benefits of this are the ability to coordinate and innovate. And as we've got listed here, a number of the key initiatives that have resulted from NU Online or that are ongoing. Federal and state compliance, which allows us to enroll students outside the state of Nebraska. Innovative efforts in digital pathways, looking at course development, workforce development, other initiatives. Joint and collaborative marketing efforts around promotion, around lead nurturing, around market research. Faculty staff development with our annual symposium that shows over 600 folks attend across our system. And campus conversations that happen throughout the year. Pulling together instructional designers across the system to share their effective practices, and research and innovation around course level. Charles? So NU Online is able to provide some grant funding to the campuses to address their strategic goals. Last year in FY20, we were able to provide funding for 3 new fully online programs. We were able to fund an effort in an initiative that actually resulted from the BRT of the Bottleneck Gateway courses, which takes courses that are key to students advancing towards their career and towards their credential that may have capacity issues, and develop those into online courses and online sections to increase capacity. Last year, 53 course sections were funded, showing an additional almost 1,400 student enrollments in the Bottleneck Gateway courses. Now, as a result of what happened in the spring when we were forced to go remote, fully remote, we did a little pivot with some funding and provided a call for request for funds from the campuses to convert courses to fully online. These were primarily for summer and for fall. And we were able to fund 126 courses that were developed with in over 50 academic departments across the system. Charles? So our scope of programs, when we look at the type of credentials that students can get across the entire gambit, undergrad, graduate, professional degrees, endorsement certificates. We have 121 graduate programs and 34 undergraduate programs that we provide fully online. Charles? If you look at over the 16 different disciplines that we provide, when I talked about a robust online program portfolio, this is what I was talking about. This is choice. These are students who want or choose or need to study online, and we're giving them options. Charles? So who are our students? Well, you met 4 of them. Of the 8,000 students that we have, our average age is 33. 64% are women. Now, we have the majority of graduate programs, so having 65% in, our graduate programs is not surprising. 68% are our residents. They're Nebraskans. And 85% are attending part-time, primarily because they're juggling something. Work, family, many things. Charles? I'm going to dig a little bit and touch on some data, but as I do each time I talk to you all, I really want to put some definitions around what I'm talking about. So when I say distance only, I'm talking about students who have been enrolled exclusively in online courses throughout the entire academic year, fall, spring, and summer. And when I say blended, I'm talking of students who've taken at least one online course at any time during the academic year. So for example, if a student takes an online course in the fall and 3 face-to-face courses, they're blended. If they take a fully online semester in the spring, we still count them as blended because they've been campus students. So we're very, very conservative in how we define distance only. Charles? So in AY 1920, this is unduplicated headcount. We had over 36,000 students take at least one online course. We had 8,200, more than 8,200 to take it all online courses. And that showed us a growth of 10.5% in Nebraska residents and almost 8% in non-residents. For a total, when we average it, 9.6% growth across our system in distance only last year. And I want to point out these measurements and how we've gathered the data do not reflect the remote work that we did in the spring. We did not change the categories of students in the spring. If their courses went remote, they were still seen as a campus student. So this is truly a distance only for last year. Charles? So across the state, across the country, rather, we have students in every state. And I think it's probably obvious that, we have a larger draw closer to us, more familiarity, but we draw well from California. We have programs that are very strong drawing from the East Coast. So we've touched on every single state, which is why compliance, federal and state compliance, are a major issue, so that we can continue to reach those students. Charles? So in the state of Nebraska, we look at it by county, and this is fall 2019. We use this data because it gives us the clearest picture of where students are located by zip code. And as you see, we're in almost every county in the state as well. Charles? I'm sharing with you the number of credit hours that students earned during the academic year as well. And one thing I want to point out is the 15.3% growth in distance-only credit hours. This is something new that we've seen this year. And I'm not really sure how to make of it. We're going to dig a little deeper. But you saw a 9.6% increase in the number of students who studied at a distance. But we've seen a 15.3% increase in credit hours, meaning they're taking more credit hours. And so we're definitely going to be digging a little deeper in this and see, okay, what does that mean? Or, and is there something that we can do to help those students even more? Charles? Our NU Online website is our primary marketing tool. We have many other things that we do in marketing, between banner ads and billboards and publications. But we see, all of which are directed and geared back to our website. And if you haven't seen our website, it's a real easy URL, online.nebraska.edu. And we see traffic from that website. 61% are from out of the state. And last year, and I'm using the time frame as you see here, September 1 to August 31st, we had over 11,000 program inquiries. Now, and obviously you can see that was an increase from the 8,200 from the year before. But there's something I want to point out, and that data point's not on here. We had a web traffic of unique visitors of over 133,000 individuals to this website. The conversion from visitor to inquiry was 9%. Industry and information that we get, it's usually 1 to 4% range from conversion. And the reason is because we are very singular focused. We have one job here with this website. That is to get students to information about the programs that our campuses offer and get them to inquire. Charles? So now I'm going to switch a little bit and share some information about the University of Nebraska High School. And as you all know, we're very, very fortunate to have had for over 95 years a high school that is fully distance, a college prep high school with many illustrious alums to serve not only the state, but nationally and internationally. High school has over 10,000 course enrollments. 1,000 of those are international. Yeah, 1,000 of those students are international, and 2,200 of those are from the U.S. We have 913 Nebraska residents enrolled in the high school. And many of those Nebraska residents are also in brick and mortar institutions across the state where their schools have determined that there are courses at the high school that they can't offer. Charles? So Nebraska High School has an access agenda. And I've said access a lot in this presentation because that's really the driver here. The high school created a Nebraska Virtual Scholars Program back in 2011 that was funded from the Office of the President. Over those years, it's provided more than 1,000 scholarships, serving 270 schools across Nebraska. Because those scholarships go to the schools, and those schools enroll students. So 700 students in both rural and urban areas were able to take courses from the high school, from UNHS, as a result of scholarships. During the pandemic, high school stepped up, recognizing that our secondary schools were stressed, took 10 of those courses and put them free online from March to July. These were courses that were self-guided, that did not require instructor, didn't require, additional cost. We had students from 41 countries enroll in those, and 167 Nebraska students took those courses. And the most courses that were enrolled: study skills, basic grammar, pre-algebra. Charles? So let's visit with Melissa again. And you can see from her own words, this is why she chose the MSW program at UNO. Because she needed to work, she had family, but she also wants to have and advance her career. Charles? I'm going to end with Curtis Reese. Curtis, University of Nebraska Kearney resident, student, master's in biology. He is a Nebraska resident. He's from rural Nebraska. He teaches high school biology and environmental sciences. And he's also an adjunct professor for Northeast Community College. And according to Curtis, he wanted to do this because he wants to become a better teacher. So thank you all very much. And if you have questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much, Mary. It was a tremendous presentation, and kind of hard for us to get our arms around the incredible growth in 10 years. I think we can sum it up best: great growth in programs, great growth in students, great growth in credit hours, students in every state of the country, and strong, and then the growth within the high school students. And I think we're all very, very proud of the word you continually use of access for all, for a transformative education. So thank you very, very much for your work.
Thank you, Regent Cohen.
Hey,
Moving
Mary.
on, go ahead, Howard. Regent Hawks, or was that Regent Hawks, or was that?
I had my hand up.
Okay, Regent
Mary,
Hawks.
what limits your growth? What are the 2 or 3 factors that are limiting?
So I would say probably capacity at the campuses. Instructional capacity is always stretched. And that's why we put some, key initiatives into, increasing the number of courses. The Bottleneck Gateway initiative, it didn't just convert courses, it provided additional instructional salary to fund those, to offer those courses so that the campuses had the resources to teach those courses. So that's one area. The other area, of course, is the competition. And even pre-pandemic, the competition in this market across the country is just massive. So the challenge has always been how to make us stand out, because we're not the largest. We do not have the most money to throw, at the wall to see what sticks. So we have to be very targeted. The League Nurturing Initiative allowed us to be razor sharp in taking those inquiries that come in and working with students to help them decide on choosing us. So those are a few of the things.
Thank you.
I have a
Any-
question.
Regent Whites.
Yes, thank you. Mary, amazing. It's wonderful to see this. And I'm wondering, are the students who are citizens who simply want to take a course for enrichment, would they be a part of this, or is that continuing ed separately done, or are they included in this, and do you market to them?
So if we do, listed in here are non-degree students, but they're taking credit-bearing courses.
Okay.
So if we have a student who is taking non-credit, they are not listed in this.
Okay.
We're not marketing to them yet, but there are efforts to begin expanding on our role in non-credit professional programs, and so that will change.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from my colleagues? Thank you very, very much, Mary. We appreciate it.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Regent Claire.
So I listened to this in academic affairs, and I think it's important for our colleagues to hear some of the. I'd like to drill down a little bit more on capitalizing on some of our military, and the fact that we've got some tremendous alliances within our UARC, within the utilizing Ted Carter, and their prime places to market our online programs to the servicemen and women who are representing our country, but also give them an opportunity to expand and get into higher education. And then I'd like to also have you talk a little bit about students or individuals around the country that have hours towards a degree, but for some reason or another have not completed their degree. And so talk about those two things. And then also, where do you see online education at the University of Nebraska in 5 years? And what's the impact of that towards the university generally?
Okay. First, let me talk about the military. And as you saw from my introduction of some of our students, we do have a number of both active and retired military who do take our courses. So this is a significant population that we know is interested in our programs. We market in GI Jobs. We market in Military Spouse magazine. Dr. Fritz and I have had conversations with representatives from Stratcom about, ways to work with them on attracting talent. So this is a very significant population that we do focus and market and put resources toward marketing to. Each of our campuses, of course, are yellow ribbon, and each of our campuses have tremendous support for veterans and active military. And that goes a long way for attracting and retention. So, and about the some college, no degree, when of those 65 programs that we started in 2010, we had very few undergraduate programs. We had some, but not many. And we've grown those to 34 undergraduate programs. And that's very important. But the piece that's also really important about that is that we need to provide a robust offering of online courses in Gen Ed and those bottleneck gateway courses. Because students who have some college may not have the right amount of credit hours for the degree they now want. So they may have been an education major now wanting to go into business. And we have to offer that range of offerings in order to help them get on track and for the credential that they want. We absolutely market to the degree completion market. We've done radio spots, streaming audio, we do billboards, and we do print media. And a number of the programs that we funded and the courses we funded are geared to this specific audience. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little story. That lead nurturing initiative that we did, that we helped fund. The University of Kearney went back through and looked at the students who left but didn't complete and reached out. One of their students that came back had dropped out because of a number of issues, and he's very open about the fact that they were his issues. He's out in California. He came back, he finished his degree at UNK, and he flew in and walked at graduation. Not this year, year before.
Yeah.
So it does work, and we do, and that is really what Access is about. So I think the next thing you ask me is, where do I see this in 5 years? I see us continuing to grow, maybe not at the rates we're seeing now with distance only, because I see us incorporating more of teaching with technology as a whole. I also see us having online programs and support for students that really put University of Nebraska at the forefront of this is where a student can be successful. There's a lot of institutions out there who are slapping it together right now.
Mm-hmm.
Our campuses have not done that. Our campuses have been deliberate, and our ability to pivot like we did in the spring had everything to do with the fact that there's been an investment in this for 10 years. So I think we're going to continue and see progress. I think we have to be focused on, where we are nationally that makes it successful. I think we need to focus on student success and student coaching, because I think that's going to be a differentiator for us. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going to continue to do what our public mission tells us is the right thing.
Mary, President Carter has a comment.
I know we could probably stay on this topic for 4 hours because it's that involved and that important. And I want to congratulate Mary on what she's done with the NU Online and taking us over the last 10 years to a place that probably many of you could never have possibly imagined, not to mention what we've done with our online high school program. It's one of the probably the best kept secrets in all of Nebraska for what it does, not for just Nebraska, but for the nation and the world. But to get to Howard and to Tim's questions and comments, what you have just seen is a glimpse into the future of higher education. The future of higher education will be born out of the lessons learned, the development of these programs, not so much on just dedicated online, but this new concept of hybrid education, where programs are being developed synchronously in the classroom and to any place remote, where you're really getting the benefit, of a single teacher being able to do that short of the grading criteria. This is also starting to have application, as the question was about whatever application for the U.S. military. As many of you are aware, we're one of 6 cities outside of Omaha to be a finalist for where U.S. Space Command will be placed. And this type of capability puts us in the lead in terms of our university affiliation and what we can do. And we are highlighting that. And to Howard's point, what are our limitations? Howard, we're going to figure out how to break through some of those barriers, because I don't want us to be limited by the number of people that can deliver this. Many of you may know that this year we made a strategic move in reducing the cost of online cost per credit hour. Previously to last year, it cost more to take an online course than it did to take it in person. We broke that barrier. We reduced the cost by 9% at Omaha and 7% in Lincoln. I think that's part of the reason you saw this massive jump in online signups. So, we're thinking through this smartly. This is one of those things that doesn't have to be centrally run from the university, although Mary does quarterback that for us. The success of the program, the future of the program will reside in how each campus develops their academic programs, the delivery methods, and modalities. This is to me, one of the most exciting possibilities in the future growth of our university.
Thank you, President Carter. Regent Kim.
Jim, this probably isn't as good a question. I mean, it also scares me a little bit with things that have happened with cyber attacks in the past. And did this allow, or do we have different safeguards that protect the university system for people coming in and registering for class and simply have bad intentions to get in?
Just to answer that question quickly, and then I'll let Mary finish up. And I know we've got to move on to other topics, but we could probably spend a whole nother module on what we're doing in terms of cybersecurity. The two-factor authentication. Many of our programs are delivered by products that basically hang and are delivered asynchronously. Very low threat to cyber and those type of modalities. The other good news, if there is any, is where large cyber attacks are happening are typically not in this space. Doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to those potential vulnerabilities, but that is not where most cyber attackers are going, at least in this country right now. Mary, I'll let you add anything else to that. I know we do spend some time on this.
We do, and I know that Brett Blackman and his team, this is one of their very top priorities. The walls and the infrastructure that is there is constantly being tested, and this is really kind of outside my wheelhouse. But if, and President Carter's right, I mean, this is a whole nother topic that, Brett and his team could probably, really let the protections that they have in place for this.
Okay, thank you, Mary. We'll move on. We appreciate it, and congrats on all your great work. Our next presentation is in regard to NSRI, National Strategic Research Institute. This presentation will take place by Lieutenant General Robert Hinson, our Executive Director. Bob, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation this morning. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you all very much for your time. I'm honored to have the opportunity to sit before you again. Before you leave the previous conversation, though, I want to compliment Mary and Susan Fritz on the engagements with Stratcom in this arena. They have tried to cater to the employment pipeline, if not the educational requirements of Stratcom, who is a highly educated workforce. Many of them have degrees already, and yet they're tailoring efforts to concentrate on IT and cyber-related areas, and there's been these previous meetings with the various campuses on how to improve the connection with the academic world and the pipeline of candidate new hires into a highly technical skill set inside Stratcom, and that has been not unnoticed by the leadership at Stratcom. It is a major effort. So Mary's done a great job on trying to promote that. I will try to, I can't get you back on schedule, but I'll try to move along as fast as I can. First of all, I want to thank all of you for the privilege of having been the executive director for NSRI for 8.5 years. In 2012, you all approved the stand-up of this organization with Stratcom and the like, and And I think it has served us well. It's served the university well. And I'll get into some of the statistics that goes along with that. But I first of all want to say thanks to all of you for your support and the privilege of having served the university over the past 8 years. Next slide, Charles. I've got a series of slides that I want to present to you, but I want to bring your attention back to why do we have a UARC? Because we have threats. We have threats across the chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and I would include infectious disease portfolios. UARCs are designed to respond to service and Department of Defense gaps in technology and research. This university is among 14 other universities across the country, as illustrated on this map. We are amongst very prestigious organizations that have been at this for many, many years. And I think over the past 8 years, this university has proved the response to the question that I get often is, why Nebraska? In 2012, there was a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of angst about, well, why Nebraska? Why did we put a UARC in Nebraska? Well, I think today they understand why. And I think it has been a result of the commitment by the leadership of the university and the staff and the faculty and students who have participated. You know, I've served under 5 different presidents of the university since it started. I have served under 6 chancellors since this started. I've served under 4 vice chancellors for research since this started. And we are on our 3rd IDIQ, an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity task order contract that equates to almost $300 million in total research contract awards. A significant effort, not driven by me, but driven by the capabilities and expertise that's represented by the University of Nebraska. Next chart. So, as any military officer, I'm compelled to give you a list of acronyms that mean nothing to you until I sort of dissect all of those. But nonetheless, the objective here is to try to illustrate to you that in 2012, we started with 3 task orders and 1 sponsor. Today, we are serving over 40 sponsors and over 120 contracts since we began. So there's lots of acronyms here, but you understand Defense Health Agency, STRATCOM, DITRA are prime targets. And if I said a lot of our funding is centered on these 3 commands or agencies, that would mean something. The list on the right side of this chart represents all of those who have been sponsors over the past 8 years that have committed funding to the university and this organization to do research that is connected with the threat, the requirements of these agencies, then commands that would do us harm and affect our national security. I think you can put the COVID virus in the same category of threats to the national security of this country. Anybody can exploit diseases and other things in nefarious ways that have an effect on the readiness and mission and capabilities of our forces, whether it's inside the United States or in abroad operational locations. It has an effect. In any way minimizes the effectiveness of our troops and our first responders. That is a problem for us. And I think for us as a university, for us as an organization, that is first and foremost as to why we are a UARC, why the University of Nebraska and our other collaborators are involved in this effort. Next slide, Charles. So I want to brag on the folks that we have within the ranks of this organization. I have 15 prior military or prior civilians that have represented different organizations across the federal government that help me operate, help us connect with many of those sponsors. They are the segue that keeps us connected with the requirements that our sponsors have day in and day out. Without these individuals, I think we would serve a tough time trying to connect with many of these folks simply because they are military and or federal organizations that have very specific requirements, very specific goals. And if you don't understand those, then you have a problem connected with them on why would you do research for them if you can't understand what their missions are. These individuals help connect the dots and apply that across the board. I have 53 NSRI employees. I started with myself and my assistant in a red Explorer that I was driving between campuses trying to build the organization. Over the years, the university, the chancellors and the vice chancellors have allowed us to expand, and that's the reason we have 4 colleges involved, or 4 campuses involved in 30 colleges, and over 240 faculty, researchers, and students that have been involved in this effort. I want to put a big plug into the faculty and the student interns that we've placed in operational commands and agency buildings and operational areas so that they get a firsthand look at how they operate, what their requirements are, and why there is need for this. We've added a lot of collaboration across other universities, nonprofits, defense industrial-based facilities and folks. And that has been a segue where the University of Nebraska doesn't hold a corner market on everything that's needed, but the willingness to collaborate with other universities and entities is a significant factor that the DoD and other agencies look for in trying to satisfy their needs. I also want to comment on the fact that we have some added initiatives that are going to increase our integration with university campuses and faculty. We've introduced a faculty fellows program, which Dr. Fritz has allowed us to move forward on, and we're going to create these connections with representatives from each of the campuses, many of the departments within the campuses, where we need the synergy and leverage of those individuals to help build on our research portfolio. We've also developed an independent research and development, often referred to as an IRAD opportunity, to incentivize new technology research from faculty and to promote their research to move it forward so that it is engaged with known requirements that our sponsors are asking for. And it helps us be better positioned to put faculty in place and get them involved with our customers. Next chart. The next few charts are financial in nature and meant to simply highlight the progression that we've had since we started in 2012. I draw your attention to the circled areas. We started with the first IDIQ contract at 84 million. We launched into the second in about the 2017-18 timeframe. And just recently, we've been awarded our third IDIQ contract with Stratcom. The bottom circled bullet on here represents that set of contract actions that outside of this Stratcom sponsored activities and results in connections with other commands and agencies that have funded this university, funded the research in the form of about $32 million. That's how the folks that we have from these prior organizations have helped expand our research portfolio and the reputation of the university to be involved across the board. So this is a very significant effort and one that has required the attention of all of you, all of the leadership within the university to move this forward. So next chart. This represents areas of total contract awards. It is meant to show you sort of the progression year over year. The report card that OSD, the Office of Secretary of Defense, uses is at a minimum, you have to have $6 million of research a year to retain your status as a UARC. Over the 5-year period, you have to have represented all of the core competencies of research that you were assigned by OSD when you were stood up. As you can see, we have exceeded the contract values over the past 8.5 years substantially. The bars on the right represent the spikes that we get into because all too often we get encumbered by what the continuing resolution authorities or funding resolution authorities are allowed by the federal government, and spikes come and go with the ability of sponsors to bring on new work, and research being one of those areas. In 2018, we significantly exceeded any expectation on the amount of research that we were able to conduct, and we've immediately exceeded the value, the potential value of that IDIQ-2 that was put in place for another 5 years. That's the reason we got into a position where we had to go forward with trying to either extend the contract ceiling dollar amount beyond the $92 million that was authorized by Stratcom, or develop a new contract. We ended up having to develop a new contract, which is IDIQ-3, another $92 million contract, which we are well on our way to starting to work as we fill up the second contract that we had in place. As you can see, we have some projected awards in 2021 at about $28 million, just as we sit today. Next chart. I'd like to point this out largely because on any normal business rule, if you looked at the progression, this would be a very positive chart. And it is. When you look at the amount of revenue generated and gained as a result of these contracts and these efforts, this to me is a report card that's of great value to us. The thing that we continue to focus on, though, is this is not necessarily excess profit or anything along those lines. These are what it takes to operate within the campuses and across the organization to continue to fund and operate the research that we have in place. This brings on new talent, new faculty, new personnel within NSRI to connect with different areas of research, and this allows us to do that. It's a very positive chart, I think. Next. So I've told you a lot here, but the point of the matter is that new work is where we tend to want to focus. We continue to try to tailor our efforts to the customers that we have and continue to get follow-on work with those sponsors, and we pay a lot of attention to that. But we also pay a lot of attention to where are we going outside of the norm. As you can see, we're continuing to work with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. We've had some ongoing efforts with Johns Hopkins University just this year on our chemical research programs. Futures Command is a new Army command that has been in its infancy and stand up and moving forward on satisfying the Army requirements, operational requirements. We are making some headway in dealing with Futures Command. We're still focused on Stratcom because Stratcom is our primary sponsor, and we have to be able to satisfy requirements and think of new ways to be involved with Stratcom over the coming years. Next. And then I want to highlight this point on COVID-19 and the work that we have collaborated with UNMC on and UNL on over the past year. There have been a lot of efforts on trying to look at different ways of identifying protective equipment and or sensor equipment in these areas. Two of the areas that we've helped the military on, however, are in identifying the airflow within aircraft and whether it's safe to move personnel that are infected with some sort of infectious disease on military aircraft. These were very successful tests that were done by our folks on looking at the airflow across the cabin of the air crew as well as the cargo bay where they either transport isolation units and or transport troops. The concern was if I move troops with an airflow that infects the pilots, my capability of continued operations gets pretty well diminished. This proved to be a very significant test and one that I think Transportation Command and others were very involved in. We've also had a lot of work recently with Defense Intelligence Agency and Northern Command looking at sensors, both with UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, and sensor technologies that can be placed inside operational units to determine what effective airflow is moving through the building and how much of that can be contained and or filtered as they bring in more employees. As you may or may not know, right now, STRATCOM is driven back to essential personnel only, meaning that they don't let civilians, they don't let contractors, they don't let most of their staff back in the building because of the infection rates going around now. Next chart. This is my get off the stage slide. And I first want to thank you all again. We started this effort in 2012, and we've established great credibility across the Department of Defense. And I think by any measure, we moved from the question of why Nebraska to now why not Nebraska. And so I think the commitment that's been made by you all and by the leadership of the university has been well recognized. As I point out, this is a journey. It shouldn't be taken as it's on autopilot and you can move forward. I would tell you that if you don't keep your hand on the throttle and continue to move forward, it will falter and STRATCOM will have no reason to want to keep it. It is that critical to how we do business going forward. And I think we are postured very well to accelerate the research efforts that this university can provide. And I'm proud of where we are. I'm proud of being able to hand this off to Rick Evans and the remaining leadership of NSRI to move forward. So I thank you for your time, and I answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Bob. Any questions by any of my colleagues? Regent Clare.
Yes, if first off, I want to comment on the picture of the shoes with the worn out bottom, because I don't think that picture gives enough description of what you've done at within this UARC, because I think you gotta also show how big those shoes are, and you've left big shoes to fill, and we're incredibly indebted to your commitment, your service, your vision, your leadership, and you know, when you think about it in the totality of things going on at the UARC and what responsibility that the University of Nebraska has with respect to the safety of our world, when you look at the work ethic, integrity, character, ethics, and just flat out expertise and just roll up your sleeves and get it done. I'm really proud of what we've done, proud of you, and proud of the University of Nebraska for this partnership. And I'm, again, go back to the shoes. You didn't show how big those shoes were because you created big shoes to fill. Thank you very much for everything you've done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Claire. Any other comments? Bob, please stay on for a little period of time here. Next, we are going to move into resolutions. We'd like to take the opportunity to honor two extraordinary individuals that have made incredible contributions to the university. First, we would like to honor Bob Henson, the Executive Director of NSRI. This resolution will be presented by Regent Schaefer. Regent Schaefer.
Whereas Lieutenant General, U.S. Air Force retired, Robert C. Henson has served as the founding executive director of the National Strategic Research Institute at the University of Nebraska since its inception in September 2012. He retires after more than a half century of supporting the missions of the Department of Defense. And whereas General Henson served for 33 years in the United States Air Force, leading as a Vice Commander of Air Force Space Command at Peterson Air Force Base and Deputy Commander of U.S. Strategic Command at Offutt Air Force Base. General Henson is a command pilot with more than 3,000 flying hours, primarily in the B-52, FB-111, and B-1 bomber aircraft. He received many prestigious awards and decorations during a long and distinguished military career that included 25 moves for his family while serving our country. And whereas General Henson continued to support the national security of the United States upon his retirement from the Air Force, serving for 9 years as the Vice President of Government Programs and Corporate Lead Executive at Northrop Grumman. And whereas under General Henson's leadership as the University Affiliated Research Center of the University of Nebraska, NSRI has received 3 contract awards from its sponsor, U.S. Strategic Command, $84 million in 2012, $92 million in 2018, and another $92 million, $3 million in additional contracts and grants for a total of $298 million. And whereas General Henson has instilled a tenacious pursuit of mission in the Institute's expanding team of leaders, scientists, and partners. In total, the Institute has more than 75 professionals working from offices and laboratories across the University of Nebraska's campuses and near customers in the National Capital and Space Coast regions. NSRI has collaborated with more than 350 NU researchers and students to serve 44 customers across the DoD and federal government. All numbers that will continue to grow thanks to the course that he has set for the Institute and the university going forward. And whereas, in addition to his prolific career, General Henson continues to contribute to his community, Committee, the STRATCOM Strategic Advisory Group's Bomber Task Force panel, and the SAC Air and Space Museum. He has also served on the Offutt Advisory Council and the Peter Kiewit Institute Board of Policy Advisors. And whereas relationship building across our university community and beyond, a humbleness, authenticity, and passion that comes from true commitment to purpose. He has been known to pound the table zealously to advocate for the best possible opportunities and deliverables for the warfighters and first responders NSRI keeps at the center of its work. He recently said, "We must always be thinking ahead to the next threat and the next solution." Bob, please know we will. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the University of Nebraska Board of Regents expresses its sincere appreciation for the exemplary contributions of General Robert Henson during his term of NSRI founding executive director and in the more than 42 years of dedicated service and support to our country's national defense prior to this role. Bob, we wish you, Karen, and your family well in the promising future that awaits you all. Now, if you will allow me, on behalf of myself and the university, I'd like to render you one final salute.
Thank you, Regent Schaefer. That was excellent. And again, thank you, Bob. And please, Bob, know that if we were all together, we would be leaping to our feet. Can't do it because we'd be off camera, but please know that the physical embraces are taking place right now. We're greatly appreciative. You're an incredible public servant and great inspiration to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next, we would like to move on and honor one of our colleagues, Regent Howard Hawks, Regent of the University of Nebraska. The resolution will be presented by our colleague, Regent Whites. Regent Whites.
Hello. I would like, first of all, to say it is truly an honor to be the one to represent the Board of Regents in honoring Howard Hawks. The University Board of Regents, whereas Howard Hawks has represented District 2 on the Nebraska Board of Regents since 2002, and whereas Regent Hawks has served twice as our board chair, has also led numerous board committees, including the 2014 Presidential Search, Screening, and Selection Committee, and whereas drawing on his exceptional experience in fields of finance, business, operations, and strategic planning, Regent Hawks has made the university a more efficient and effective organization by prioritizing public-private partnerships, investing in deferred maintenance, and advocating for more state investment in higher education and research. And whereas Regent Hawks is a Nebraska native, yay, and two-time University of Nebraska alumnus, yeah, double yay, who has not only served the citizens of District 2, but the entire state of Nebraska honorably as an elected official, a civic and community leader, and a philanthropist for sure. And whereas Regent Hawks has earned the respect of those who have served with him on the board, as well as current and past presidents, chancellors, and other members of the university community. And whereas Regent Hawks had decided to retire from his service as a regent, it makes this bittersweet, and not seek a fourth term of office in 2020. And whereas Regent Hawks leaves a legacy as a champion of the University of Nebraska and its 4 campuses through well-crafted public policy, strategic public investment, and generous philanthropic support that will be forever remembered by the entire university community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Regents, we're all standing up right now, sort of, extends its deepest thanks and appreciation to you, Howard Hawks, for nearly 2 decades of dedicated service on the board. And we wish you and Rhonda the very best in your next chapter of service. Thank you, Howard. There aren't words.
Thank you, Regent Whites. We couldn't be done better. Thank you. I think
this has been a great privilege for me to serve the citizens of District 2 and the state. I'm proud to be a part of a team of regents over those 18 years with regents, presidents, administrators, faculty, students to make things better for our citizens and our students. And in listening to General Henson recount 5 presidents since 2008, I've had 6 presidents since 2002. So there must be one longer serving person in there than ever. But anyway, I'm going to miss my colleagues. And one of the things I missed out on this year because of the pandemic is to get to know the student regents, which are a highlight of being a regent because they are our future and they are outstanding. So thank you all.
Right. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Howard. I think we will have another opportunity in the meeting if other colleagues would like to make comments when we have a motion about Howard a little bit later in the meeting, and we can all offer words if we'd like at that time, if that would be okay. We'll move on to and congratulations and thank you, Howard. And we'll have a few more comments later in the meeting. We'll move on to the president's remarks.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to make an adjustment to the agenda to provide the president's remarks after we have completed the public comment period.
Okay, very good. Thank you, President Carter. We'll move on to the public comment portion of the agenda, and we'll return to President Carter to get his remarks after our commenters have had the opportunity to speak. As you know, at each of our board meetings, we offer an opportunity for public comment. Needless to say, this year, this meeting is unusual. In accordance with Section 7.1 of our standing rules, we are allowed to waive any or all of the standing rules for the duration of the meeting, and only at the meeting in which they are waived. Please bear with me. In order to facilitate the public's participation in our meeting, we included in the notice of this meeting, which was publicly posted 1 week ago, at request that any person wishing to speak at this meeting provide 24 hours notice to the office of the corporate secretary. This was done in order that the public commenter might receive instruction on how to speak at this meeting safely by remote means. Therefore, I move that the portion of the standing rules providing for the public's physical presence at the meeting be waived, and that our process today conform to the notice given to the public. Would Regent Ferries do a second, please?
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Ferries. We have had several individuals who wish to speak on a topic not on the
agenda. If we could take a vote real quick on the waiver of the standing rules, that would be great. Thank you. Okay.
Please call the roll.
Yes, Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor. Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Clare. And Regent Hawks.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Stacia. We have been contacted by several individuals who wish to speak on a topic not on the agenda, and understand these individuals have called into our meeting. Our rules provide that you may speak for 5 minutes. Please state your name and the topic upon which you will speak. First is Donald Costello. Thank you.
Mr. Costello, you have been added to the meeting. You should be unmuted, and I have started sharing the presentation with the board.
Thanks, Charles. Donald is going to speak on cybersecurity. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Donald.
Hello. Hello, my name is Don Costello. I'm an associate professor emeritus of computer science and engineering at UNL. I have taught and done research on all 4 of the NU system campuses, and I worked in Varner Hall for 5 years. We have all had a very tough year. In the past week, I've had 2 incidents of IT attacks on my accounts. One was a phishing attack, which I stopped and reported to Microsoft. The other was an attack on my phone system, which prohibited me from using my phone. Earlier, I had an attack on my American Express account. I'm certain that some members of the board and others present have had similar problems. It's in this sense of Christmas and Hanukkah, as well as the optimism of every new year, we need to look at many realities and beyond. I know you are doing that in many areas of our teaching, research, public service responsibilities, and the burden you bear is almost unbearable. In this message to the Regents, I'm asking you to pay a great deal of attention to forces set on penetrating our university files and causing a great deal of harm. I read and applauded IT security missions in the mission statements in the past, and we now have a new IT security plan that's been proposed. It is well written and comprehensive. Any such plan only as strong as its weakest link, and at present the weak links are there in our system and must be addressed as the plan proposes. The problem is that any effort to enhance our IT security takes money, talent, and time. The enemies of the state will not wait until we have implemented our plan. These enemies include are attempting to get and attack our digital resources with the latest weapons in digital security arsenal. I move to the next foil. In the next foil, I just give you an overview of what is a cyber attack. I don't mean I've taught too long and not to resist the tendency to teach, but I'll resist the attempt to read it to you. So when you get a chance, you might look at and refine your idea of what a cyber attack is. There are, next foil, please. It's titled Common Types of Cyber Attacks. And we hear these words, they get to be mishmashed as they're moved around the public, and people really lose perspective on what they're about. But denial of service, and I've been attacked by denial of service for years. So that kind of thing, along with the others I mentioned there, you might hear in the public press or the technology press or the education press. So we need defense strategies. So I call the defense strategy cybersecurity leadership policies and universal acceptance, which I abbreviate with C:LPA. This tells it like it is, but it's only as strong as its weakest link. You can't buy it from a consultant. You can only get it from those who love Big Red, Nebraska, and Nebraskans. To highlight the fact that things are really happening, we already know that hackers began publishing stolen documents after Michigan State refused to pay a ransom. These ransomware people are unscrupulous. These are the lists of universities that have been attacked in the past, maybe the past 10 months. In my next slide, these are recent U.S. states and cities and federal agencies that have been hit by IT cyber attackers. So the point is that everything is being hit. And here we have some example statistics on the next slide, which is concerned with with ransomware. You see the curve of the number of people who are attacked by ransomware rising at an enormous pace. On the next slide, I put a professional organization assessment of the current state of international IT breaches. And you have these, and these are only from October 2020, and they list things that happened all over the world, in Russia and China and Munich and all these places where hackers have got at them.
Mr. Costello, you have 1 minute remaining.
The next foil is entitled A Stumbling Block and a Stepping Stone for IT Support to Prevent IT Breaches. Over a 12-month period, there were 521,000 total cybersecurity jobs listing in the United States. This tells how badly we need IT security professionals. It also suggests that IT security threats will continue. So we have to look at, again, as I close out, we have to look at the forces that are there and take some action. So I look upon the 5 years I worked in Regents Hall as the most productive of my life, though not without pain. I know how hard you're doing. I argue that you should approve the plan as soon as possible with enough money to get the required resources in place. Find an appropriate auditor that is verified as responsible and has deep affection for the university. You should solicit grant and donation resources that will help fund the effort. I don't mean to sound like I know all the answers, because I'm far from knowing all the answers. excuse me from my
Mr.
being
Costello,
too pompous.
your time
and
is up.
have a good rest of the month. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Donald. Our next speaker is Christopher Detlefs. He has asked to speak on the topic of UNMC's Student Senate resolution to support divestment from fossil fuels by the university system. Christopher, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. DeThellis, you may now begin.
Pardon me?
Charles, do you have Christopher up?
Yes, he is now in the meeting.
Christopher, thank you. You have 5 minutes. Your time will start now.
Christopher, we lost you.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Thank you, Christopher, and welcome to our meeting. And we appreciate your interest and your taking time to come before us. You have 5 minutes, and we'll start timing now. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Chris Detlefs. I'm a second-year medical student at UNMC and a resident of La Vista. I'm calling in today to voice my support for the ongoing campaign to encourage divestment from fossil fuels across the University of Nebraska system, and to articulate my concern regarding the issue of climate change and its impacts on the health of Nebraskans. As you might know, the university system currently has over $90 million in assets invested in the fossil fuel industry. Joining its voice with a broader campaign in the University of Nebraska community, UNMC's Student Senate recently unanimously passed a resolution calling for divestment of these assets, stating that the university holds the moral and fiduciary responsibility to do so. This is an issue of great concern to the healthcare community, given the numerous well-established human health impacts associated with pollution, environmental degradation, and climate change. I personally first became interested in the issue of climate change and its threats to human health as an undergraduate when I spent a summer in Bangladesh through a service learning experience. As you may know, this low-lying country is one of the most vulnerable in the world to the threats of rising sea levels and increased extreme weather events. I recall personally witnessing an intense storm flood our surrounding village and its farmland, threatening the livelihoods of many poor farmers in the area. But until the last few years, climate change has still remained a distant issue for me, something threatening that faraway South Asian country, or at worst threatening our coastal communities in the United States. But then, a year and a half ago, this issue hit home. The March flooding of 2019 was a wake-up call for me and many in our state and the Midwest region. Suddenly, it was our farmland underwater, our communities threatened by intense flooding, and even our military institutions compromised with the flooding seen at Offutt Air Force Base. The threat of climate change is not a distant issue, but one that affects us all, and especially our most vulnerable communities. Just yesterday, the Lancet Countdown, which is one of the leading authorities on human health impacts and climate change, released its 2020 report on climate change and human health. I was part of a team that put together a case study on the March 2019 Midwest flooding that will be included in this year's report. Through this project, I learned even more details about the devastating effects that this extreme weather event had on our economy, our farmers, our communities, and especially the indigenous people of Nebraska. Being a part of this project has highlighted for me more than ever that climate change is an issue in which we are all intertwined. The health impacts of climate change are widespread, significant, and the people of Nebraska need to be thinking critically about mitigation and adaptation strategies for the future. Tackling this problem has tremendous implications for our public health and our economy. The University of Nebraska, as a leading institution in our state and the surrounding region, has a pivotal role to play in shaping our approach to this issue. Divesting from its fossil fuel assets would send a powerful message to our communities, our political leaders, and to other university systems that climate change action is needed now and that we all have a part to play. As a future healthcare professional in Nebraska, I ask you all to please consider using your influence as regents to advance this effort for the good of Nebraska, our country, and the world. Thank you so much for your time, and stay safe, everyone.
Christopher, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Charles, would you let us know when you have the next speaker online, please?
Mr. O'Neill, you are now in the meeting. If you would please unmute your phone.
Hi,
you are now unmuted.
everyone.
You may begin. Yes.
Okay.
Connor O'Neill has asked to speak on the topic of the UNMC Student Senate resolution on. Connor, thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest, and you have 5 minutes to speak before the Board of Regents. Thank you. Your time starts now.
Great, thank you. And I just want to first start off by saying thanks for the opportunity to share my thoughts about the Student Senate resolution on fossil fuel divestment. So just a little background. I'm a first-year master's student studying environmental, agricultural, and occupational health at the College of Public Health at UNMC. I also work at UNMC and am supporting a project to increase climate change literacy within healthcare. In that time, I've met some pretty incredible and capable faculty from Nebraska and elsewhere. Much of the team focuses on heat-related illness, drought, floods, and vulnerability mapping. So they're trying to identify the most vulnerable populations and then develop mitigation tactics because of the effects climate change is having on human health. I'm really grateful for the opportunity that UNMC has given me to work with such knowledgeable and forward-thinking individuals, and it's their commitment to the solutions is what gives me hope. That said, 97% of climate scientists are in agreement that climate change is not only real, but that it is a threat to humanity because it likely means the collapse of our current biosphere. We're all tied in an inescapable network of mutuality. You don't need to look far to understand this point. Just look around and see what COVID-19 has done. We all live in a world where human activity has changed the climate. That fact is here to stay longer than anyone listening to these words right now. Global energy usage in 2018 was about 42 billion tons of CO2, the primary greenhouse gas. If we want the planet's warming to stay under 2 degrees Celsius, which is what most of the scientific community agrees must be the mark to avoid catastrophic outcomes, then we have to drop our emissions by half by 2040. And if we want to keep the planet's warming under 1.5 degrees Celsius, then we have to cut global emissions of carbon by 98% by 2040. The clock has already begun and we're way behind. With better instruments and data, we're able to more accurately predict what this will mean for Nebraska. And again, you don't have to have the fanciest tools in the world to see what the trends are. Nebraska will look a lot like it has started looking like the past 10 years. That means worsening droughts, worsening floods, and other severe weather events. There will be a longer growing season, which means increased pollen, and along with it, increased asthma, COPD, and deaths accompanying those who have trouble breathing. A worrying new phenomenon is also on the rise, diseases of despair. And we can see this with the worsening opioid crisis and elevated suicide rates that are likely to get worse because of climate change. In the medical community, there are 4 known pillars. Arguably, the most important is non-maleficence. Do no harm. Yet in the United States, healthcare makes up 10% of the national greenhouse gas emissions. If the U.S. healthcare system was a country, it would be the 5th largest emitter. And if we keep burning fossil fuels like we are today, scientists agree and are confident that there will be a mass casualty event due to climate change in the coming decade. So we're breaking the most important pillar of medicine. We're actively doing harm. And it's my colleagues who are studying that harm. Is the slow violence of indifference supposed to be thought of any differently? We all have to do better. Thank you. We all have to do better. And that's why the Student Senate has passed a resolution and is asking the board to divest all of its investments in fossil fuel companies or any company on the Carbon Underground 200. That includes $91.3 million of the NU Foundation, roughly making up about 6% of the NU Foundation's endowment. Now, I'm not naive to the systems we live in today. I'm also not naive to how somebody gets placed on a board of regents and what that might mean for their decision making. This decision may be hard, it may be easy, but one thing we know for sure is that it is necessary. Among many of the job duties of the Board of Regents is to advance the university's mission of education and to approve its budget. Well, our mission is to lead the world in transforming lives to create a healthy future for all individuals and communities through premier education programs. It is now your responsibility to make sure that the dedicated faculty of UNMC can get closer to meeting our mission.
Thank you, Connor. Your time is up, and we appreciate your passion for the subject and being a part of it. Thank you, Connor. Charles, would you let me know when we have our next speaker? We have two more speakers for the clarity for everybody on the call.
Z. Elmer has been added to the call, and actually Olivia Sunderm has dropped off.
Hi,
Z, you are now unmuted.
Is Z. Elmer on now?
Hi, yes.
Okay, thank you, Z. Z. Elmer has asked to speak on divestment from the fossil fuel industry. Z, thank you for being here. You have 5 minutes to speak to the Board of Regents, and the time will start now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Z. Elmer. I am a third-year student at UNO studying environmental earth sciences and sustainability. I'm the programming director for Sustain UNO, an action-oriented student group at the University of Nebraska that is committed to sustainability and climate activism. The University of Nebraska prides itself on being a leader in the community, but we are falling short in one very critical role: environmental leadership. Over the past year, one of the main focuses of Sustain UNO has been the topic of divestment. We are nearing the point of no return on climate change. The fossil fuel industry is one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gases, which continue to push us closer to the edge. With the fossil fuel industry emitting around 78% of all greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, financially supporting these industries tells the community that we are less concerned with going green than making green. But these investments aren't even the most financially reliable. Fossil fuel industry investments average a return of 97.2%, while investments in renewable energy average a 200.3% return on investment. At this point, there is no reason to continue to financially back this industry. According to the Lincoln Journal-Star, last year, Fund A of the Nebraska University Endowment, which has $73.3 million invested in the fossil fuel industry, reported a 1.3% loss. I can't help but wonder if these are linked to each other. However, as has already been addressed, we have often feel pretty far removed from the effects of climate change here in Nebraska, but that's not the case. One of the main warnings climate scientists have issued is more extreme temperature shifts and seasons, with harsher winters and warmer summers that can lead to extreme flooding and droughts that will severely impact agriculture, which is one of our main commodities here in the Midwest. In 2018, we experienced just this after our community was devastated with flooding that cost our state $1.3 billion alone in damage. That does not count for the toll the flooding took on our residents and farmers, many of whom lost their livelihoods and their homes or experienced disruption that was financially devastating. I can personally attest to this, as I had to move out of my home in Bellevue because of the flooding. We cannot wait for it to be a mainstream choice to divest from the fossil fuel industry and invest in environmentally sustainable alternatives. We cannot wait for climate change to be a more severe and immediate threat than it already is, to start researching, supporting, and implementing sustainable practices as individuals and a community. We simply cannot wait. Across all 4 Nebraska University campuses, students are speaking out in favor of divestment. Over 430 Nebraska University students, faculty, and staff members have signed a petition for complete divestment. UNMC and UNO student governments have both passed resolutions in support of divestment. Other colleges in Nebraska, such as Creighton and Doane, have already made the commitment and are taking the steps necessary. So why aren't we? I would just like to end with a reminder of demands groups like Divest NU has brought up to the board. We would like no new investments in the fossil fuel industry, a commitment to divesting by 2025, and to begin working towards divestment as soon as that commitment is made. I hope you'll consider the impacts your actions have as members of the board. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you understand how valuable your action on divestment is, not just for Nebraska University, but for our Nebraska community and the world in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Z. Charles is our last speaker back that was signed up back on, or where are we at there?
Regent Pillen, she reached out to me and indicated that she had a previous engagement. She sends her regrets. She had to drop off. She will not.
Okay, very good. Very good. Hopefully I won't be inappropriate. The last speaker was going to be Olivia Sonderman. She'd been before the board several years ago as a international, speaking to us about her experience as an international student. I think she's at the medical center, and she's from Platte County, and I've known her since she's a young girl, and she's one of our best and brightest. So disappointed that you wouldn't have been able to hear from her today. With that being said, there's no other persons wishing to comment. I now declare the opportunity for public comment closed. This time we're ready to move on to the president's remarks. I know our meeting has moved on, and I think President Carter, we have a lot of important things to cover. And I think that maybe my dad's philosophical times when we would fall behind would be worth sharing. He would always say, boys, we have more time. We have more time than money. Let's keep working. So with that, let's just stay the course. Thanks, President Carter.
Thank you, Chairman Pillen and Board of Regents, and to everybody listening here in the state of Nebraska and across the United States. I want to just take 2 very quick minutes to recognize Lieutenant General Bob Hinson and the work he's done for the National Strategic Research Institute. I've gotten to know Bob very well over the course of his work. He's a true American hero, a leader, and as I like to say, a true aviator, Top Gun. Bob, anybody who's flown the B-52 like you have and led and all that you've done for half a century, I just say my hearty congratulations on all you've done. And thanks on behalf of a grateful nation. To Regent Howard Hawks, again, a gentleman who I've gotten to know over my last year, a true pillar and leader, not only in Omaha, but across the entire state and our nation. I'm so thankful to have been tutored by you, all that you have done for us here at the university, leading as a regent, as a chair, and just as a pillar of a leader in the community. And we'll have something more formal to talk about here shortly. I'd be remiss if I just didn't take a moment to do what we call in the Navy a running fix. You know, we're all sitting here today listening to a lot of different topics, but today's 4 December 2020. We're in the midst of a global pandemic. We're at the end of our fall semester. We're at a period where we just enjoyed Thanksgiving, albeit maybe a little differently for many of our families, and we're into the holiday season. On Monday will be 7 December, and it will be an anniversary of the day at the Franklin Delano Roosevelt called the day that would live in infamy. And I would be remiss if I didn't just take a moment to thank the very, very decreasing number of Pearl Harbor survivors that are across our entire nation. And of course, we still have one left here in Nebraska, Ed Guthrie, who I believe is 102 years old, the last surviving member here in our great state of Nebraska, who was an electrician in the Navy on 7 December 1941. And I bring up Pearl Harbor Day because I think it's probably the most defining moment in our nation's history where we had to go against tyranny and those that want to change our way of life, a way of life that we enjoy here. And now we're in the midst of a global pandemic. So as we go through that anniversary, I pray and hope that all of us as Nebraskans can come together as we did as Americans after Pearl Harbor Day to defeat a significant enemy. This is also a significant day. On this day, December 4th, 1950, the first African-American fighter pilot in the United States Navy, Jesse Leroy Brown from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, a graduate of the Ohio State, who was flying off an aircraft carrier in a combat mission in North Korea, was shot down. The events of that day would be significant enough there, but Immediately following that, his wingman, Lieutenant Thomas Hudner, a Naval Academy graduate from the class of 1947 from Fall River, Massachusetts, saw his wingman go down. Purposely crash landed his jet airplane next to his wingman, survived the crash landing in the snowy area of Chosin Reservoir, got out of his jet, put out the fire in Jesse's airplane with his hands in snow, and tried to rescue his wingman. Sadly, he was not able to do that. Jesse died in his airplane because he was trapped. Thomas Hudner was recovered. Jesse Brown received the Distinguished Flying Cross. Thomas Hudner received the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I bring this up because it's relevant to us today. 70 years ago, we broke barriers in bringing African American population to not only our universities, but into the highest level of a profession like naval aviation. And today we're seeing breakthroughs across our university in diversity and inclusion. So I'm remembering that event on this day. And just for our listeners, you should know that there was a book written about this event called Devotion, and it's actively being filmed right now. The lead actor, his name is Glenn Powell. He's in the next Top Gun movie. You might get to see him there. And he just texted me on this very moment of this day to remind everybody that he is bringing the story back to life. I wanted to transition now to the topic of fossil fuels. We've had a number of students come before us to talk about this. It's obviously an issue our students, and I want everybody to know that I care deeply about. It's important to acknowledge that we're listening to their concerns and we are actively engaged on the issue. I want to tell everybody right now that doing nothing about this is not an option. And I'm really proud of our regents and how they've gone after this. They've heard it loud and clear, and they know what an important issue this is. We all want to be good stewards of our resources, both fiscal and natural. It's a key reason why I put into our 5-year strategy sustainability and all that goes with reducing our carbon footprint. But there's a great deal of work that's not only already been done, but that will need to be done. All of our campuses have sustainability plans in place. UNO, UNK have established those. UNL just recently produced a major significant sustainability plan. And I want to highlight that because that's some of the great work going forward. Now, there's been lots of discussion and analysis with the Business and Finance Committee, led by Regent Bob Ferris, about the sustainability and fossil fuels specifically. Now, there's been a lot of numbers thrown around here. I'm not going to address them directly. I'm going to direct the facts, though. And the facts are that we as a university and as a board of regents have direct oversight on a portion of some of those numbers that were addressed today, and that is in Fund N. Fund N as in Fund November. There are no direct investments in fossil fuel companies in Fund N. That said, we do have $4.6 million in commingled assets that own shares in the Carbon Underground 200 companies that you've heard talk about. That has been decreasing significantly over the years to where we are today at 1.4% of the total Fund N portfolio. So I highlight that because it's not that simple. It's not like flipping a switch. Divestment may sound like a simple concept, but the nuances are complex. The committee believes, and I agree, that we should need a refined approach. We want to act, but we want to be thoughtful and have meaningful impact. For example, we don't want to inadvertently pull away from a company that may have a carbon footprint today, but that is developing and investing significant renewable sources that may become a more sustainable company in the future. However, some immediate actions that I, as your president at the University of Nebraska, can take. And we have discussed this with our student leaders, and today I'm going to commit to several of those steps. So as of today, we're going to commit to publishing an annual report on Fund N holdings. We will have full transparency about our investments. I intend to designate a member of my team as a Chief Sustainability Officer. In fact, I will do it right now. I'm designating Chris Kabork, our Chief Financial Officer, to be our university-wide Chief Sustainability Officer to elevate visibility and accountability. Now, let me be clear about this. I, as the president, is truly the leader of the sustainability piece. So I consider myself to be the Chief Sustainability Officer, but Chris will be my designee. We're going to continue discussions about amending Regents policy to add environmental, social, and corporate governance criteria, or ESG criteria. This does not box us in. It simply gives us another factor to consider besides making money. Not bringing a proposed change to you today, but we're going to continue to discuss it. I want to give a special shout out and kudos to Regent Ronnie Miller and our student leaders. I want to say thank you to the students that have come forward and spoken to us. We've heard you. You've all been wonderful partners in helping us think through these issues. Now, before I step off this topic, I know Regent Bob Ferris has been working hard on this as a leader of our Business and Finance Committee. They're also the leader of our Investment Committee. And I'd offer Regent Ferris a chance to make a couple remarks.
Ted, I thank you for your remarks and just want to say that the Business and Finance Committee is totally committed. We are examining what we can do with that very small percentage that we still have invested. And as you well pointed out, we have direct control over Fund N, and that's the only part of the investments that we have direct control over. They are diminishing. We are exploring those commingled funds to see if there are some where we could exclude that type of investment from them. And we will be bringing this change of policy. So that will give us the opportunity to not just look at what's the profitability, but what is the sustainability of the investments and what they represent as well. And I'm grateful that all the campuses have taken the big picture of sustainability in hand. So thank you. I think it's a continuing process, and we're committed to continuing to work on it.
Thank you, Regent Ferris. And as I said earlier, we are committed to making a difference in this space. It is in our strategy, and I'm measuring my own success as your university president to make sure that we're moving this important issue down the field. I want to transition now to just taking some time to reflect a little bit on just the year that's gone by and a little bit about where we are going forward. It's on this day, exactly 1 year ago, that this Board of Regents voted me in as the 8th president of the University of Nebraska. My wife, Linda, and I were listening in, as many of you are from afar, and wondering if it was really happening. And on December 17th, I came here as your interim president, and on January 1st, I became your 8th president. And I just want to say how thankful I am in the confidence that this Board of Regents has placed in me to be your president. I reflect on that time. It's hard to believe a year has gone by, and it certainly wasn't the year that we expected when we started on January 1st of 2020. But beyond my deep gratitude to the many people of the university, I also want to start with our chancellors, our faculty, and our staff, our 52,000 students, our elected leaders, our business leaders, farmers and ranchers, our citizens across the state. I've had a chance to meet so many of you, and I feel embraced by you. And I listen to you. I listen to you and how much you care about your university. And it's truly refreshing. The statement that there is no place like Nebraska is really true. Now, at the outset of this crisis, the one that we have been living through throughout most of this year, the chancellors and I made an immediate decision about what we would do to guide our priorities: accessibility, affordability, and success for our students. The goal was to continue to deliver on our mission, even in tough times, because we knew that when we would come out of this, we need to be in a position of strength. The needs of Nebraskans and our workforce and our urgent global challenges depend on a strong and growing University of Nebraska. So we did act, and a great story of collaborative strategic decisions to keep our university moving forward. I'll just highlight a couple of those things. The list is very long, but the highlights include, number one, Nebraska Promise, free tuition program that was an expansion of Pell Grant system. Those earning $60,000 of adjusted gross income or less, 7,000 students answered that call. Remarkable number. We instituted a 2-year tuition freeze, the first public university in the country to do so. We reduced and standardized undergraduate online tuition costs, as I highlighted earlier, 7% at UNL and 9% at UNO. We adjusted our academic calendar, maybe one of the more strategic moves that we made with this idea that the pandemic might come back in the fall and have rising numbers. We made that decision in May, and look where we are. A very prophetic decision one of the steps that I'm most proud of across all of our faculty senates, all of our academic affairs officers led by Dr. Susan Fritz, we've been able to make those changes to create a safer environment and create new opportunities for students. UNL's mini session, which is currently underway, and Chancellor Ronnie Green tells me it's been a great success so far. Over 1,300 plus students have enrolled in 60 plus different courses. And as I saw it highlighted on the morning news shows today, we have students that are graduating a full semester early because of these new academic opportunities. We declared we would be open in the fall, and I am so proud of the leadership. I credit to the chancellors, their teams, their faculty, everyone who made our reopening a success. While we did have our challenges, and while there were some that criticized us for being open, we have navigated it safely. And as Governor Ricketts and even I read in Forbes magazine and the New York Times recently in the last couple of days, college campuses across the country, but particularly here in Nebraska, have not been the cause of spread that has happened in our communities. It has happened outside of our campuses. And this has happened because of the changes in behavior that our students have taken on and the embracing of our faculty and staff, many of whom have had to work 3 times harder to deliver the multiple different modes of education, whether it be remote, in person, or hybrid. I just could not be more proud. We enjoyed a growth in enrollment, 1% overall, from 51,000 students to 52,000 students. This may not seem like a major significant number, but given across the nation, enrollment in just freshman classes was double digit, more than 10% down across universities in the nation, and even greater in the Midwest. It's a significant shift. It's opposite of what everyone else has seen. And it shouldn't be lost on us that we saw enrollment go up significantly among Nebraskans, over 2% across our campuses, and across all of our campuses, enrollment growth, significant enrollment growth in first-generation student and underrepresented minorities. And again, contrast that to the trends nationally in the Midwest, where those numbers were down by double digits. I'm hoping I'm still with you. I'm hoping you can see. I had something.
I can see you, Ted. You're fine.
Okay. So we're not just growing in enrollment, we're growing as an institution. Our engineering upgrades at UNL are part of a bold growth goal to meet workforce needs. Our Davis Global Center at UNMC, continued global leadership in infectious disease, just seen this year, is urgently needed. Discovery Hall at UNK, a game changer for the workforce, a new regional engagement center that will grow the economy in outstate Nebraska. NCITE at UNO, that's the headquarters for the National Counterterrorism, Innovation, Technology, and Education. It's one of the premier anti-terrorism facilities in the country. Huge achievement for us to compete successfully with the best institutions in this space. And as you heard Bob Hinson talk about, our connections with the Department of Defense have not only grown with what we've done in the Institute, or the National Strategic Research Institute, it's allowed us to be now a finalist for the future landing spot of U.S. Space Command. And our new efforts through the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources to grow the vitality of rural communities. Kudos to Mike Bain for his leadership on this effort. There are so many other examples, but as I reported to you last time, I truly think we've seen the best of the University of Nebraska just over these past 10 months. As I look ahead to 2021, we'll be in a COVID-19 world for the foreseeable future, but I'm optimistic about the positive developments putting this in the rearview mirror. As we explore new initiatives for student access, attainment, and success, the new Nebraskan pilot effort at UNK is one program I'm very excited about. We'll be looking at where else we can do more to attract more new Nebraskans to our state. I'm also looking at opportunities to create new degree pathways for students and increase transfer opportunities to better support Nebraska students who move between the university, state, and community colleges. And I can tell you today, at this very moment, as we're looking at applications for the fall of 2021 and our transfer students, we're up 7% from where we were last year. Now, that's not translated into new enrollment, but that's where we are today. So we are making great progress. So as I've said before, I believe the future of higher education will be all about the innovative pathways. And I think the pandemic has made us even more true to that today. In close conversations with the business community about growing internship and job opportunities for students. That's continuing to go on. Across the system, we're continuing our work with regard to diversity and inclusion, and I'm pleased with the steps that we're taking so far. As we know, there is much work to be done looking forward and ahead. And we're looking forward to working closely with the governor and the legislature when they reconvene this next month so that we can work on our biennium budget. And we're sending a strong message that Nebraska is the best place to be to get an outstanding and affordable education, start a career, raise a family, all while being part of the great community where people are genuine and hardworking. No other place offers the kinds of opportunities Nebraska does, and that's showing itself in how the Department of Defense and the Air Force Secretary are making decisions about the future of U.S. Space Command. I want to thank the board again for placing your trust in me. I want to thank our chancellors for being the best partners that I could have possibly imagined. And I want to thank the people in Nebraska for your support of your university. And I'm ready for year number 2. So I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Chairman Pillen. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, President Carter. Moving on, it's now time to consider the consent agenda. The consent agenda, as indicated by its name, is moved and voted on as a group of action items as opposed to the administrative agenda, where items are considered and discussed individually. With that being said, unless one of my colleagues on the board wishes to consider any of these items in the administrative agenda, I would move to approve the consent agenda. Would Regent Claire second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Regent Claire. Please call roll, Stacia.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire, Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Stacia. We will move on to the administrative agenda. President Carter, if you'll take us through, please.
Thank you, Regent Pillen. I'd like to start off with, in accordance with Regents Policy 1.2.6, the Executive Committee of the Board and I nominate Howard Hawks to receive upon his retirement from the Board of Regents this coming January the title of Regent Emeritus. Regent Hawks has represented District 2 for 18 years with distinction, serving twice as board chair. I recommend that the full board approve the award of title Regent Emeritus to Howard Hawks.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent O'Connor make the motion, please? Would Regent O'Connor move, please?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay, Regent Pillen?
Please.
Per our Board of Regents policies, section 1.2.6, I would like to make a motion to confer upon Howard the title of Regent Emeritus for his substantial service to the university, the Board of Regents, and the people of Nebraska.
Thank you, Regent O'Connor. Would Regent Kenny second that, please?
I would be proud to second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Comments from my colleagues? I will just go through my colleagues, okay? And so let's start with Regent Claire.
Well, Howard, I want to say thank you. It was a privilege. The first time I met with you, you made time to meet with me when I was a candidate, and we sat and visited for a while. And it started off with your assistant telling me you've got 15 minutes with Howard, and an hour and a half later we finished. And I don't think that was because of anything other than your care and compassion for the University of Nebraska, and you wanting to just see what this, as I said earlier, this husky lawyer from Omaha, or from Lincoln rather, was all about, and did I align with what you thought the board, and your service to the board, you thought that I could benefit the board. So that's where our relationship started, and I can honestly say that I appreciated all the leadership, advice, counsel, vision, expertise that you brought to the board over the years. Our relationship went from colleagues to friends, and Amy and I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to sit and have get together at not only Regent dinners, but also just get together with dinner socially, and just getting to get to know you and your family better. The state of Nebraska has a huge debt of gratitude that it owes to you and your family for all that you've done. You know, you think of the Hawks Championship Center, you think of Hawks Field, you think of Hawks Hall, and I can't begin to say all the other things that you've done, because a lot of that we probably don't even know. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for not only our board, but for the University of Nebraska and the state of Nebraska. And, I hope that we can spend some more time sitting in a duck blind in the months and years to come. And we will also look forward to more dinners with you and Rhonda. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Claire. Regent Kenny.
Well, it's been too short a time, Howard. 4 years hasn't been long enough. I'm going to miss elk hunting stories. And I think that Nebraska is so much better. Years past when companies split up and some went to Houston, some stayed in Omaha. And Nebraska is a much better place with Nebraska being here. So I want to congratulate you on that, and all the support I can give, and everything you have done for me, I appreciate. And thank you, sir.
Thank you, Regent Kenny. Regent O'Connor.
Howard makes an outstanding regent, not only because of his business acumen, but also because he's willing to work hard and is passionate about making life better for his fellow Nebraskans. He's been a mentor to all of us and has a unique ability to look at an issue, analyze it quickly, and find the perfect questions to ask that would improve the project. He challenges us, he's patient with us, and he helps us be better versions of ourselves. And being around him, it's hard not to feel energized and hopeful, not only about Nebraska, but about the people that make our state so special. I am honored and delighted to have overlapped time on the board with him. I hope that he can continue being a mentor for us, because I think it's going to take a long time for any question to come before the board where we all don't take a minute and wonder, what would Howard think about this? So thank you, Howard, so much for the time that you've taken to mentor all of us, especially me, and for listening to us, and for helping us become better regents.
Thanks, Regent O'Connor. Student regents, Regent Miller, would you like to make a comment? It has been a difficult year, as Howard had mentioned, in terms of getting to know each of you. Any student regents like to make a comment?
I would like to make a comment.
Thank you.
Regent Hawks, even though our time together has been short, your name was a name I knew before I became a student regent, and it is a name that will not soon be forgotten by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln students and students across our system. So thank you for your dedicated service and always centering our success in the center of your work. Thank you.
Well said, Ronnie. Any other student regents?
I'd like to make a comment. I just want to thank Regent Hawks for his great leadership, passion, vision, and advocacy for students. While I might not have been able to work with him for very long, that was definitely something I noticed right away. So I just want to thank him for that.
Thank you, Max. Jabin?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really grateful to be able to serve on the board with you for the short amount of time that I have been. I got to witness you last year as vice president last year. And so definitely seeing your work and your ability to challenge the board, which I really appreciate. I appreciate your different perspective. And so, thank you for your service. 18 years is a long time. And so, thank you for serving our university for so long.
Regent Schroeder.
Yeah, I would echo everything that's been said thus far. And I would also just say, Regent Hawks, I think one thing that we'll definitely miss is your longitudinal thinking and really your ability to kind of see the forest through the trees. Even today, as we were talking about the University of Nebraska's online presence, I think one of the first questions you asked was, what's holding you back from being better? And I think that's something that we really value and will continue to miss. And thank you for continuously being that voice and helping us with all of this. Good luck in all the rest of your next adventures.
Thanks, Tom. Regent Whites.
Howard, I am really sorry that we've missed these carpool rides to Lincoln, and I'll be thinking about you as I make that lonely trek next year. But I want to say one of my favorite things about you, Howard, is your stealth humor. It's sometimes very quiet, but there's this humorous aspect that's sometimes embedded, but it comes along with some incredible wisdom. And it's been so much fun to work with you and to listen for those moments where you just kind of stick a little comment in there, and it's so weighty, but it's also so clever. So Howard, you have not seen the last of me. I may become a stalker, I'm not sure, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well said, Regent Whites. Regent Schaefer.
Howard, you've just been a tremendous joy, and honestly, what a surprise when I joined the board 7 or 8 years ago. I didn't know who Howard Hawks was then, but rest assured, I'll never forget you and who you are and what you've done for this university in the state of Nebraska. I think a few of the characteristics that stand out in my mind for you are, one, naturally your leadership, but your candor and your transparency, and most importantly, your generosity. And I think I'll savor those moments where we've had private conversations just about life and the wisdom that you've imparted and shared with the rest of us. It's just something the whole world should really have access to. And so maybe in your spare time now that you don't have to spend as much time with us at the university, maybe you can write some memoirs or write a book that you could share with others. So, but with that, please know that you and Rhonda will always be on our thoughts and prayers, and we just truly appreciate you. And while you'll be missed at the university, please come around and share your time with us as much as you can. Thank you.
Thanks, Regent Schaefer. Regent Ferries.
Well, I don't know what's left to be said. I could just say amen to every comment that I have heard, and a special thank you to Howard, not only for his time and his mentorship to me, but his friendship. And that has meant an incredible amount, and I look forward to that continuing. And I'm trying to think of some new way to say thank you and how much we appreciate what you've done, Howard, but I think everyone has already said it. So I'll just say thank you and amen.
Thank you, Regent Ferries. Well, let me finish it up. I'm gonna try like heck to put a good smile on Howard's face. Howard and I had the chance to first meet. It's over 20 years ago, maybe 22 years ago, when our current baseball coach was playing second base, and we ended up going to Oklahoma City for a baseball game, and it was in the losers bracket, and thought the game that we'd be there the day and come home, and they won and they won and they won and they won some more. So it ended up being an extended stay. And one evening we were walking, and Howard looked over and said, "Hey, Pillin, there's a place called the Biting Sow. We need to go in there." And so, we checked the Biting Sow out, and the Biting Sow gave Howard and I an opportunity to start a relationship and have a very unique relationship. And we've been able to call a spade, and I greatly appreciate it, Howard. And thanks again, as everybody has said, for all you've done. And there's no words to do it justice, but we'll try like heck with thank you. Howard, would you like to finish up with any other comment?
I'd like to make a comment. You all are one of the negatives about leaving. I'm going to miss interacting regularly and then accepting mentorship and advice from all of you, because you all carry your own weight at the same level. It's been a long time ride for 18 years. I don't regret it at all. Ron and I are not moving anywhere, so we can be helpful to the university. We'll still be plugged in with long distance electric cord, not fueled by fossils. It'll be by wind power or batteries. But anyway, it's been an awesome opportunity as well as an obligation. But everybody that's on this meeting today and in this meeting today participates in one level or another, and it comes hard. People don't realize how hard the Regents work, but it's a part to be of that and be proud of just being a team member. So I thank you all for those very overly gracious comments. Probably had to stretch, and Pillin had to say, come on, we got to say something here, cough something up. But anyway, thank you all.
Thank you, Howard. And again, if we were in person, there'd be a lot of times to take a break and give hugs and high fives and a bunch of things. And there'll be a time in the not too distant future where we will have a chance to do that. So
maybe I'll come down and talk 5 minutes on a subject not on the agenda.
You'd be welcome every month, Howard. And we wouldn't let you go more than 5 minutes, Howard. You can be assured. Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, let's see. I've got to find my way here.
We need to take a vote.
I'll turn the floor over back to President Carter to move through the administrative agenda.
Chairman Pillin, we'll need to do the roll call.
Yep.
I need to do roll call. Thank you. Roll call on the motion for approving Howard Hawks as Regent of Maritime.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillin.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
5 stars, yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Abstain.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Well, as hard as it is to transition from this wonderful event, making Regent Howard Hawks a Regent Emeriti, we have a significant amount of business to go through. So, Mr. Chairman, if you would allow me, I'd like to go through the various addendums. The first, with your permission, I would like to consider item 11A2, 11A3, and 11A4 together.
Thank you.
Approval is requested to amend Regents Policy 5.8.3, 5.8.4, and 5.8.5. All of these proposed revisions address the 2019 audit recommendation that the board's remissions policies be clarified. The revisions replace the term remissions where scholarships has been misused, as well as modernized policy language. These changes have been reviewed by the Council of Chief Academic Officers and recommended for approval by the Academic Affairs Committee. I recommend them for the board's approval.
Thank you. I would ask Regent Miller to make the motion for approval.
So moved.
And would Regent Kenny second it, please?
I would second it, but I want to talk about 5. That was included, wasn't it?
No, that's in the next one.
Okay, then yes. Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second on the floor. Any comments?
What items are lumped together?
11A2, 11A3, and 11A4 are put together. Could I ask Chairman Schaefer to make a high-level comment from his perspective?
Well, high-level comment, this is basically a form over substance matter, and it's just cleaning up and clarifying the language. Many people consider a Regents scholarship as an actual transfer of funds where there's dollars involved, but same thing on some of these other things with these other policies. It applies to these as well, in that they're really not scholarships with dollars being transferred, but they're remissions. And so it's just clarifying that and cleaning it up and making it easier to actually understand, so there is no confusion, because it's not a budgetary item as far as dollars coming in and out of the university.
Thank you, Regent Schaefer. Are there other questions or comments in regard to the motion and the second on the floor?
I would just like to make one comment real quick. From how I understand in reading it, on 583, section 1D and 2C, the lines that have been eliminated were to make it more inclusive language, which is why it has been changed to individuals with special talents. So I just wanted to clarify that was my understanding, so that we could think about that going forward as well.
Thank you, Regent Schroeder. Other comments? Seeing none, please call roll.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11A5 requests approval to add RP 5.8.8 related to tuition remissions. Remissions are a discounting of tuition costs and should be closely monitored and integrated into each campus's overall enrollment strategy. The new policy provides flexibility for each chancellor to develop a transparent remission strategy designed to help fulfill campus enrollment goals. It also provides for the annual review by the president and the board of campus enrollment management trends and plans. This proposed new Regents policy addresses a 2019 audit recommendation. It has been reviewed by the Council of Chief Academic Officers, and recommended for approval by the Academic Affairs Committee. I recommend it to the board for approval.
Thank you, President. Would Regent Beal make the motion to approve?
I move.
Would Regent White second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second on the floor for approval of 11A5. Any comments? Question, Regent Kenny.
Mr. Chairman, and I maybe need to have Rob walk me through some of it, but some of the language I didn't like. I don't see the strategic plan in some of that, and the strategy is already there on some of the remissions, and I didn't like the language, so I needed to be walked through this for I'd support it as it's stated. I will not vote for it. Thank you.
Let me ask Chairman, thank you. Let me ask Chairman Schaefer if he could give a high level of why his committee gave unanimous approval of this.
This is a matter that basically it's already in place. We allow the chancellors to make these decisions now, and it's basically a cleanup again at the recommendation of the audit result, and it doesn't give carte blanche authority to make huge significant changes, in that it is reported annually back to the president and to the board. And so we do have our we maybe have our nose in it, but not our hands completely all the way around it. So it does allow, from an enrollment standpoint, this we feel is the best way to give the chancellors the ability to manage enrollment and try to get as many students on campus in a manner that's still going to, without creating financial issues, so to speak. And so with that, that's pretty much the overall purpose of this, but it's really not anything different or new than what we're already doing at this point in time.
Thank you, Regent Hawks.
It seems to me that it would be valuable to the board to have the campuses come and explain their strategies. When you say to meet enrollment targets, those can be both economic and quantitative in terms of students. The Regents had some barriers or frameworks of what their strategies would be that they were going to implement. I think that would be valuable to you all.
Thank you for your comment, Regent Hawks. Any other comments or questions? Regent Whites, did you have one? I am not able to see you right now.
I know Elizabeth's waiting. She was ahead of me, so go ahead,
okay.
Elizabeth.
Well, thanks, Regent White. I'm on academic affairs, and we did vote on this. We didn't really have an opportunity to dive down into the language. As a member of academic affairs, would actually change my vote to no at this point. There are very few, and I know I'm echoing the same thing that I said when a student fees issue came up last meeting. There are very few issues and responsibilities that the Regents are directly responsible for, and we are elected to represent the taxpayers of Nebraska. And one of the few areas that we have responsibility for judging the issues is tuition and fees. This directly impacts tuition and fees, and I don't think that the Regents would be fulfilling their responsibility to the citizens and the taxpayers of Nebraska if instead of voting on tuition, including remissions, we are only receiving an annual report. And Regent Schaefer can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see an end date on this, so it's not a pilot program like it was intended to be last time. If there's a specific issue that the Regents would like to fix considering tuition and tuition remissions, like more Regent scholarships, then I would recommend that we try specifically to answer that narrow issue. As written, this basically gives carte blanche authority, in my opinion, to the chancellors to take over the job of determining tuition remissions. And I think that really does start to step into the territory of the Regent scope of authority.
Thank you for your comment, Regent Whites.
My comment would be that I think particularly when there are new programs being developed on different campuses that involve partnerships that impact tuition rates, that we really ought to have the opportunity to review those programs because they have impact across the whole curriculum, across faculty, across a whole number of issues. And so I think in thinking about this, we need to make sure that we keep this very clear that if someone's going to start a program that's going to continue beyond a certain frame like COVID, that we really need to talk about it as a board, and especially academic affairs needs to know more about those things.
Chairman Pillen, could I offer a thought here? There seems to be some confusion within the Regents as to what this policy states. Provost Fritz is on the line. She has dealt with this in detail. I'd like to offer her an opportunity to make a comment about this because this policy codifies existing authorities. So to vote it down would be to revisit and try to change existing policy. So I want to just make sure that everybody knows what they're actually voting on. So maybe Dr. Fritz could offer a comment here to clear this up a little bit.
Well, good morning, Regents, and thank you, Ted. I'm happy to make a few comments. Yes, indeed, this new Regents policy before you this morning is really articulating past practice and putting it into policy. When there was an audit of tuition remissions and fees by the audit committee and led by Mike Justice, it was determined that we did not have our process actually articulated in policy so that there could be a solid audit against policy. Additionally, as has been mentioned, the tuition remission budget is a component of each campus's complex enrollment management strategies. And as all of you know, we take recruitment very seriously. It's an incredibly competitive environment that our campuses operate in. And so each chancellor needs the flexibility to modify the tuition remission budget based on short-term, and this could be changing every 6 to 9 weeks, short-term recruiting conditions and patterns. And then lastly, as was stated, it was added that the tuition remission trends and budget would be annually reported to the board, and certainly is something currently over the purview of President Carter.
I would like to add to this to compliment Howard Hawks' comment that I do think it is appropriate that we could bring the chancellors forward to discuss the strategy that could help answer the concerns over the fiduciary oversight and how this is managed. But this is currently a chancellor role and responsibility overseen by me, but for which the fiduciary oversight does belong to the region. So I think we can get to your concerns, but to take this out would be, I think, a significant change to the authorities that are currently with the chancellors.
Regent Hawks.
I don't think as a regent, you should, I'll just pick this up from the end and go backwards to the front. But I don't think as a regent, you should be concerned about changing authorities if it's wise to do it as a philosophical statement. Where I am at is the university needs a remissions policy and flexibility, that's for sure. And I would suggest, matter of fact, I'd move that if I ask this question, a month or two doesn't adversely affect what we're already doing, right?
Right.
It seems to me that on remissions policy, the regents ought to be unanimous on a system that works. And while we have some no's, I would move to table this for a future meeting.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor to vote on this topic, and I don't know if we, following Robert's rules,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to remove my motion.
Okay. So you'd like Regent Beal would like to remove his motion, and Regent Weiss, are you saying would you remove your second?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Regent Hawks has a motion to take this, has moved to take this off the to this agenda item. Is there a second to do that?
A second.
Second by Regent Kenny. Any further conversation? Please call roll.
Oops.
Regent Hawks.
I just want to add, I think this is important for the regents to be unanimous because it's an important element of the institution and it just requires unanimous vote.
Okay.
So maybe before we do roll call, I would like to call on Regent Schaefer, your committee chair of academic affairs, that moved this on, and it appears that your committee has changed since you moved it on.
Well, it did come through our committee with a consensus, and so these are developments that have come to the table here just recently. So on one hand, I don't object to that. On the other hand, I don't know that, again, that it changes anything than from a practical standpoint that we're already doing, and that we can always come back to it if we need to. But as we continue to manage enrollment for next semester and beyond, I think it's important that we still allow, I don't want to take anything away from the chancellors at this point in time, but if we need to wrap around some additional structure and policies to make everyone more comfortable and even make it down the road where we can have reports and even the regions to come in and weigh in on it on an annual basis, I think that's fine. But I really would, I'm not in favor of tabling it. I would rather we could move forward with this because I think it's important, especially, you know, in today's COVID crisis, that we give every tool available to the chancellors and try to recruit students and keep our enrollment up. As we all know, the University of Nebraska is one of the few institutions across the country where we've seen an increase in enrollment. And so I think that's really important. And so I suppose if I guess this is democracy and it's great. And so I suppose if someone wants to table it, that's fine on one hand. On the other hand, I would want to move forward, but ultimately, if somebody has a motion to amend, if they feel they know what they'd like to change, you know, I'd be interested in hearing about that as well.
Regent Ferries first, and then Regent Hawks second.
My concern is that I think, you know, we obviously don't have total understanding and agreement. I don't think there's any concern about what the chancellors have the authority to do, but I think there needs to be some coordination here. And I think we have an opportunity to, in essence, send this back to academic affairs with a request that they have this kind of a session with the chancellors and then change whatever they think is necessary at the end, advising the rest of us ahead of our next meeting what has happened. And so I just think it's a take another look and let's see if you can have another conversation and another look. And I'm willing to, it doesn't change anything by tabling it that I think is going to be detrimental to us, but I think it does give us the opportunity to work forward on something that everybody is comfortable that they understand. And I don't think we're there today.
Thank you, Chairman Ferries. Regent Ferries, Regent Hawks, please.
The thing I wanted to add in light of Dr. Fritz's comments is we aren't holding anything. If we don't advance this, it doesn't mean there isn't a remissions policy. It's just a question of having the regents have this say what they want it to say in a way that works for the chancellors and the system and the regents.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, Regent Hawks.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table this. Please call roll.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
No.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
No.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
No.
Regent Schaefer. Regent Schaefer.
No.
The motion passes.
President Carter.
Were you able to hear my vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move over to business and finance now. Item 11B1 seeks your approval of various legal documents for the development and construction of a regional engagement and alumni center at UNK. I know both Chancellor Christensen and I are excited about this project and the momentum it will bring to the development of University Village at UNK. So I'm going to invite Doug to make some remarks and provide more details about the project. Chancellor Christensen, the floor is yours.
Hello, Doug.
Doug, if you're with us, we'd ask you to unmute.
I thought I was, but there I go. Thank you. Thank you, President Carter, very much. I appreciate the kind words and the support. I know many of you have had the opportunity to see this presentation more in depth on several occasions, but this morning I do want to just briefly highlight what we're doing here and would appreciate the support to continue on. These are a series of documents for the construction of the Regional Engagement and Alumni Center on University Village. It's also a property transfer agreement. It's basically a construction agreement for the Regional Engagement and Alumni Center based on a condominium concept. If you have other questions about the legal documents, I'm sure that we will be able to satisfy the questions. If I could go to the next slide, please. It's my opinion that the Regional Engagement Center is the linchpin for future development of University Village. It will be the anchor for us for attracting partnerships, student opportunities, and engagements with, I believe, the entire state, particularly in rural Nebraska. As many businesses don't have the opportunity to build standalone buildings, they do have the desire to have a presence in rural Nebraska. And this partnership that we're entering into with a private developer will give us those opportunities and at a greatly reduced risk to the university. If I could go to the next slide, please. This is University Village. You will see at the top of the slide, Highway 30 is up there. As you come off of Highway 30, the existing white building to your right is the Village Flats. That's our already constructed housing project. Very successful, over 90% capacity and utility. It has been well received. This is also to the right outside of the slide is the Planback Early Childhood Center already in existence. The middle is highlighted by the Village Square, Town Square. And so the colored building is the new proposed Regional Engagement Center. If I could go to the next slide, please. The center itself is 49,000 square feet. The university is going to own 18,000 square feet of that. We are going to be able to have the entry to the building here from both the front and from the back in the parking lot. And it really does allow us to highlight our University Alumni Association and the foundation as they come in. Also to the immediate right here on the slide is the entrance into what we think is going to be the most visible piece of this building, and that's a presentation room and a meeting room. If I could have the next slide, please. This will provide the community something they do not have, and that is the ability to have a public meeting that is accessible. In other words, easy to park. The city council has expressed extreme support for being able to switch their meetings over here. We have another several public entities who want to come and hold their public hearings here and meetings. Not only would it be large enough to accommodate those meetings, it would be flexible enough to allow for various sizes of boards, all the way from the Board of Regents down to a smaller board such as the City Council. It also provides for a safe exit to the rear for the board members, and it allows for some closed session meetings where you would not have to clear the room, but you could go back in a smaller setting and do that. It's this space that we think is very attractive to business. They don't want to be able to have to build that on their own. They'd like to be able to schedule that. We've been able to reach agreements with people such as our Chamber of Commerce, who are waiting for us to see if this building is approved, but they have great interest in coming over here and helping us staff this. It's going to be a very flexible space throughout the building. If you could hit the next slide, please.
Chancellor?
Yes.
Would you back it up off 2 slides?
Yes. There we go.
if that wall display is a literal, I think the University of Nebraska at Kearney should have some publicity that overrides the University of Nebraska Foundation. I don't know if that's a literal or not.
Well, I think it's illustrative of the space used. It's our foundation and alumni association, of course, are combined together, and they do need a spot to rent, and we'll be renting that. So I'm sure there's some accommodation. I think signage on the outside of the building is extremely important.
Yeah, but
as well.
It doesn't. You don't even print out the words University of Nebraska at Kearney. Anyway, it's just an input. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And I think this points out that we are not in design phase yet, and clearly those are good pieces of input to put into there. As we go forward with this project, this is going to allow us access to the health science education complex to the north. Hardly a month goes by that we don't have inquiries of businesses and people who want to come into University Village. They're interested in what is there. Our partner is MAG Partners out of Omaha. They will be assuming most of the risk for building the large portion of the building, but also renting it out to private business. That's where the partnerships come in, and I think are extremely strong. There's very flexible space up on the second floor that would allow for large gatherings. They can be divided down into smaller gatherings, but the ability to be close to campus, the ability for people to come and easily find this and park is something that the community is greatly needed, and I think will not only enhance the community, but a large portion of rural Nebraska, that we should be able to bring people who want to have a presence in rural Nebraska to come out here and provide them with an effective, efficient, and an economical point of presence. President Carter, I'd be happy to answer any further questions. And again, I appreciate the patience. We've been with Business Affairs on, I think, 3 different occasions, and their input has been helpful on each one of those. And we would ask for their support at this point from the entire board.
Thank you, Doug, for you and your team's leadership on this project. As you know, partnerships are one of the primary themes identified in our 5-year strategic plan, and this project is a great example of the universities collaborating with both private industry and the local and regional Kearney community. This proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent Ferries please move?
I'd be happy to move that we accept this project.
Would Regent Beal second it, please?
I second.
Move in second for 11B1. Any further comments or questions from the board?
I would just make one, if I may, please.
Yes.
I think this has been thoughtfully put together, as Chancellor indicated. We've been back and forth in our committee with discussions for a long period of time, and I think they have addressed concerns. They certainly win the prize for the most paper that it takes to get a project put together, which is, I assume, happens because the Chancellor happens to be an attorney. But but it's got a lot of pieces to it, and it takes paperwork to be sure that they are all addressed properly. So we're very excited about it for you, NK.
Thanks, Chairman Ferries. Any other comments?
Regent Pillen, if I may.
Please.
I did have the opportunity to speak with Chancellor Christensen about this program, and I think it's going to provide an incredible opportunity, not only for the city of Kearney, but also just the sheer opportunity bringing titans of industry and leaders from Kearney onto campus. I think that it's going to provide opportunities for students to interact with those leaders and also to learn from them. And I think that this is exactly the type of thing that UNK is so perfectly positioned for, to serve as a strategic gateway to more of rural Nebraska. So I just want to thank Chancellor Christensen and UNK and their partners for all their hard work, as well as President Carter and the Business Affairs Committee. So thank you guys. This is incredible and very, very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you, Regional O'Connor. Well said. Any other comments?
I have one, Chairman Pillen. I just want to underscore how proud I am of this substantial investment in rural Nebraska. Much of what's been said is really true, and I think this is going to provide great connectivity and economic opportunities for Nebraskan citizens, really increase UNK's presence, and with that, make the University of Nebraska more accessible and effective at serving all Nebraskans. So I'm very supportive of this item.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none.
Sorry. It's gotten out and it's created a lot of excitement, Carney, I can tell you.
Oh.
Thank you, Regent Kenny. Seeing none, please call roll.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny. Regent Kenny. Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. President Carter, if I can make one technological comment, I'm not quite sure why my screen I can't see I can see a lot, but not everybody. So just when you want to make a comment, if you'll speak up, if I can see, I will. But so I'm having a little bit of problem for some reason. So please don't be bashful when you want to make a comment. Speak up, and we'll so nobody's voice is limited. So thank you, President Carter.
Chairman Pillen, we're going to move on to item 11B2. 11B2 seeks your approval of the license agreement with Collegiate Licensing Company for Husker Athletics. Husker Athletics has had a productive decade-plus relationship with CLC. Under the agreement, CLC is provided the exclusive right to license Husker logos on apparel and other items. The current contract expires on June 30th, 2021, and the proposal before you for consideration would extend the contract for an additional 6 years. CLC will collect a portion of the revenues, and those details are included in your agenda item. Given this is a contingency contract, state law requires 30 days notice to the public, and that notification period began when the board agenda was made public last week. The proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent O'Connor move for this item? So moved by Regent O'Connor, and would Regent Moore second it, please?
I second.
Thank you. Discussion, comments? Thank you. Please call roll.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny. Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent White.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11B3 seeks your approval of the program statement for the Schmid Law Library renovation at UNL. The nature of law library collections has undergone a profound change over the past 2 decades, which provides us with a wonderful opportunity to reimagine how best to utilize our library spaces to better serve our students. Details about the project are included in the program statement in your agenda materials. The proposed $6 million project is entirely privately funded. The proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent Claire make the motion to move this forward, please?
Yes, I move approval.
And could it be seconded by Regent Schroeder, please?
I second.
Moving second. Any comments?
I would just like to give some kudos to Dean Moberly and all the hard work he's doing at the UNL College of Law. If you note, this project is being entirely funded by private donations, and that is a heavy lift in a pandemic. And so I think this is going to create such a great facility for our UNL College of Law students, and I'm really looking forward to the outcome of this project.
Thank you, Regent Claire.
Yeah, I would like to echo those comments. I'm not a Nebraska law school graduate. I graduated from Creighton, but my office has a significant partnership with the UNL College of Law, and it has been a tremendous partner in a variety of different projects. A lot of my partners are graduates of the UNL College of Law. And I just have great admiration and respect for Dean Moberly and what he's doing out at the law school. And so I'm very enthusiastic about this project, just because, if nothing else, the world is changing and we need to be able to adapt to those changes. And that's some of the remodel that's going on this project. So I'm thrilled about it and very much in support.
Thank you, Regent Beal.
Yeah, I just add kind of like Ronnie's perspective as a student and someone who's looking to stay in state and go to law school next year. When I saw this on the agenda, I thought that's a really neat thing, and I think that would really enhance the law school and be great for Nebraska in general.
Thank you. Any other comments? Please call roll.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes, and for some reason I keep losing connection.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 11B4 seeks your approval to increase the budget for the Scott Engineering Center renovation and link replacement at UNL. The $2 million budget increase would be used for the abatement, disposal, and replacement of existing windows in the Scott Engineering Center. As with any project, budgets are limited, so we focused our initial scope of work on necessities such as ADA accessibility, roof replacement, and mechanical and electrical system code upgrades. Exterior envelope items like windows were planned to be done at a later date. Just like many remodeling projects, once you start knocking down walls, you discover unknown surprises. In this case, after work on the link replacement began, it was discovered that the existing windows in the Scott Center contained hazardous materials, commonly known as PCBs. These materials, once discovered, required removal per code regulations. Fortunately, our teams have managed our LB 957 projects well, and we have identified bond proceed funding to cover the $2 million of cost. I want to again express our thanks to the legislature and the governor for their partnership on important building renewal projects across our campuses, including this one. These updates to our engineering facilities will go a long way in helping us achieve the growth goals that Dean Perez and Chancellor Green have outlined. This proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Would Regent Hawks move?
So moved.
So moved by Regent Hawks, and would there be a second by Regent Miller, please?
Second.
Thank you. Regent Ferries, as chair of Business and Finance, would you like to make a comment in regard to this item?
Well, I think Ted covered it very well. It was several people have raised a question early on. Well, why didn't you consider the windows in the beginning? Well, the windows were always going to be considered. It was going to be at a later date until we discovered this problem. And so it made a lot of sense just to get in and get it done and wrap it up. And fortunately, the funds are available. And so committee was unanimous in recommending it to the board.
Thank you. Regent Hawks, comment.
I want to also add that in that meeting with Business and Finance, we challenged the university to, there was belief that these windows needed to be replaced at the outset, but there wasn't money in the budget. So we challenged the campuses to tell us what doesn't fit in the budget so we can use judgment about changing the budget.
Great comment, Regent Hawks. Sometimes the edict that this is what we have in the shoebox, and there's other needs. Conversations need to take place for the betterment. So, any other comments? Seeing none, please call roll.
Regent Schroeder. Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
You
Yes.
are in the meeting now. There are
Regent Clare.
Yes.
in the meeting. This meeting
Regent
is
Cox.
Yes.
Somebody's got to turn their mic down.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 11B5 seeks your approval of revisions to the North Stadium expansion project. As you know, the board approved the program statement for the project in October of 2019. While that was only 14 months ago, it now seems like an eternity given all the challenges COVID-19 has dealt us. Like everything else, the pandemic has resulted in a multitude of unforeseen changes. And as such, we're asking the board to consider making adjustments to the project. I'd like to invite Chancellor Green to walk us through the details of the proposal, but before you do, I just want to make a couple comments. The adjustments we're bringing before you today are a reflection of the times we're in. COVID-19 has touched every part of the University of Nebraska, and that includes Husker athletics. The landscape has changed, and we all need to be flexible. Most importantly, from my perspective, we need to honor the trust that donors and Nebraskans have placed in us in supporting the Go Big project. We're not going to spend money we don't have. We're going to use the resources that we do have wisely. And when we say we're going to complete this project with $100 million in philanthropic donations, that's exactly what we're going to do. Donors have been generous, and I feel very good about where we're at with fundraising. Now, maybe in a perfect world, we'd be proceeding exactly as we outlined 14 months ago, but that's not our reality. It would be irresponsible at best to not adjust to the current environment. But even with these adjustments, the ultimate deliverable hasn't changed. A world-class facility for our student athletes that will help Nebraska compete. This is an exciting project for our university, something Nebraskans, all of us, can look forward to. Now, I'd like Chancellor Green to give us a more detailed update on the Go Big project and the changes we're asking you to consider. Ronnie?
Well, thank you, President Carter, and appreciate the board's review of this stage of the as we refer to it, the Go Big project, the North Stadium expansion. You'll recall that the board considered this as a program statement in September of 2019 and approved the $155 million go forward with the project to be able to address the need for facilities for our football team, in particular the football training needs, to enhance recruiting ability for the football program, and to be able to accommodate the size and scale of our football program of 150 plus roster that we currently are not able to accommodate in our facilities. As President Carter mentioned, You'll recall that you were scheduled to see the review of this earlier this year. There was the anticipated timeline initially would have started construction on the project this past summer. Given the pandemic and where we were and the needs for adjustment with the uncertainties in the market in athletics that are very apparent to all of us, we paused the go forward on the project at that point to be able to look back in as we were able to identify and have a better fix on what some of those uncertainties might look like, particularly financially for athletics. We did continue, however, as you'll recall, the design of the project to move forward, to be able to bring that forward at the appropriate time. As we have gone through that design, what you have in front of you today is the completion of the intermediate design review for the project. That scope of the project essentially is the same that you saw before, with the exception that some of the additional renovations in North Stadium have come out of the project in order to accommodate it and keep it within the cost and scope of what we feel is appropriate and available. And in terms of the uncertainty related to COVID-19, now that we know with some degree of certainty what the athletics budget looks like for this year, with the cancellation of in-person attendance, as you know, that we are able to see a sustainable path forward for being able to fund the project. It is now designed in 2 phases that would move forward with the construction of the facility that would shell out the portion that was originally designed or is designed to become the academic skills area and the training table that would remain at this point in West Stadium where it is currently. We have the funding available and in hand to move forward with the phase 1 that you see at $135 million to support the completion of the facility, with phase 2, the remaining $20 million of the completion of that second phase as we have those funds become available. So we're very pleased about this. There is a timeline issue of urgency here in that we are now delayed a year in the project, as you know, from what our original plan was. If we cannot move forward at this point, it would delay it yet another year in that cycle of athletics. So we're pleased to be able to recommend to you and bring to you approval for this change in approach for the project to be able to move forward and stay on that schedule. So Ted, I will turn it back to you and be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Chancellor Green. I want to thank you and your team for putting together such a responsible proposal in this challenging time. I know we all wish we had shovels in the ground right now. We are in all this together and we have a good path forward. But this proposal, as it is in front of you, was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
President Carter, would Regent Kenny so move this forward?
I will make that motion, Chairman.
Thank you. Second by Regent Schaefer.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions in regard to Regent Ferries?
I would just make a comment on behalf of the Business and Finance Committee. You all remember that in this process, when a program statement is approved by the full board, then the intermediate design comes back to the committee. And if the financing hasn't changed and the scope of the project hasn't changed, then we have the approval to just tell them, well done, proceed. But it was our feeling that the scope had changed because the financing had changed. Our original plan was to have the $100 million committed. obviously that we're not there, but as Ronnie indicated, we do believe that there is 80 committed at this point. So I think they've worked well with us to come up with the two-phase project here. And so that's what you're really voting on today, is the approval of intermediate design for phase one, which will reflect the raising of the 80 million. Phase two won't move forward until the additional 20 million is committed. And so I think it's a responsible response to the situation and what was presented to us. We didn't want to just not approve anything because we felt we had the opportunity to do a portion if that was something that the university felt they could work with, and they did, and I think have done it well.
Thank you, Regent Ferries. Regent Hawks, comment.
First, I'd like to compliment Ronnie and his team for breaking this up in a way where we can proceed with it if we so vote. But before, we would have had to turn it down because it didn't meet the requirements that were established. And then the one thing I have to say, I just can't resist saying that this construction manager at risk is a fake term and an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. But if in August 20, we moved it to January 21 to have complete design, and if that is a literal, and you do have complete design, you should go out for fixed bids. So if those two terms are correct, then I think that the construction manager at risk should not be considered. That's just an input.
Thank you, Regent Hawks. Any other comments? Please call roll.
Regent Beal.
Yes.
Regent Miller.
Yes.
Regent Moore.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Hawks.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Chairman, with
Chairman
your permission.
Pillen, Chairman Pillen, could I make one additional just short comment?
Please.
First of all, thank you for your support of this project. It's a highly important one for the university and for Husker Athletics to be able to move forward in this way. I just want to point out that because of the financial health of Husker Athletics and the support for Husker Athletics that we have here, I know you all know that it is totally independently supported outside of state support. No state dollars, no student dollars go into Husker Athletics. And the plan to move this forward in the way that we have proposed it is a sustainable one that still retains the financial health of Husker Athletics long term and keeps us at the lowest debt of almost any of the Big Ten institutions, even with a project and scale of one like this. So thank you for your support, and just wanted to applaud Husker Athletics.
Thank you, Chancellor Green. President Carter.
With your permission, I would recommend we consider items 11B6 and 11B7 together.
Ted, we have a little bit of a problem with hearing right now from you.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Not very well.
No. Are you out in Amherst, Nebraska this afternoon, Ted?
Okay, does that help at all?
There you go.
Ooh, that's better.
And that hurts, by the way.
Well, I can't resist, but on a really, really serious note, in regard to your connectivity challenges, Paul, it's a big deal for Nebraska, and then applauding all the chancellors, President Carter, that giving our students the opportunity to be on campus, have access, right. Because if we didn't do that, it'd be it'd be very, very difficult for a lot of people to overcome. So I can't give kudos enough because it's making a difference for all kids and the kids that need it the most. So it's really good.
It's already made it tough for me because I've had calls said, why didn't you vote for the building at Kearney? And I said I did, but I wasn't on. So I vote yes.
Well, as you
Get on that
point out,
broadband bandwagon.
as you point out, the younger people that are in our college campuses are much better at managing technology than some of us. So
Yeah.
I apologize for some of even my own limitations here, but with your permission, I'd recommend we consider items 11B6 and 11B7 together, which seek your approval to acquire various properties near the UNMC campus. In support of UNMC's master plan, the university continues to work with the nearby property owners in acquiring parcels of land that are critical to UNMC expansion. The parcels of land are adjacent to other properties owned by the Board of Regents and are critical to maximizing future development opportunities and flexibility. The proposals were reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend them to you for your approval.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent Schroeder move forward, please?
I would so move.
And Regent O'Connor second.
I second.
Thank you. Motion and a second on the floor. Any comments or questions? Please call roll.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B8 seeks your approval to lease a vacant lot at 6465 Center Street on the UNO campus. This lot has historically been underdeveloped and UNO believes may be an attractive parcel to a potential developer. UNO has issued a request for proposals seeking ideas on how best to utilize the property. If a suitable developer is found, we seek your approval to enter into a ground lease to develop the property. The proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Thank you. Would Regent Hawks move that forward, please?
So moved.
Second by Regent Weiss.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions in regard to this motion? Seeing none, please call roll.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B9 seeks your approval to acquire the Thompson Alumni Center from the UNO Alumni Association. The UNO Alumni Association is the current owner of the property located at 6705 Dodge Street. The Board of Regents own the adjacent property. The acquisition of the Thompson Alumni Center would provide strategic growth opportunities for UNO. The university's acquisition of the property is contingent upon the satisfactory completion of repairs identified in the property inspection report, including roof replacement. The proposal was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Thank you, President Carter. Would Regent Moore move that forward, please?
So moved.
And could that be seconded by Regent Schroeder?
A second.
Thank you. Moved and second. Is there any comments or questions in regard to this? Regent Hawks.
I just want to say that Doug Ewald has done a masterful job of creating some conditions preceding this sale closing. The place is a mess. They've not done any maintenance of substance. And he has put their feet to the fire that all these things have to happen before the university closes on it. So we ought not to be 100% certain. So I couldn't understand what Tim was saying there. Anyway, Doug Ewald has gotten inspections in there and has done a great job on it.
Well said. Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, please call roll.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
Yes.
Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
The motion passes.
This item comes from the Executive Committee. Approval is requested to appoint the President of the University of Nebraska as the university's designated representative in accordance with the bylaws of the Board of Directors of the Nebraska Medicine Corporation, with the requirement that agenda items of meetings of the members of Nebraska Medicine will be provided to the chair of the Board of Regents for advanced review. This action has been recommended for approval by the Executive Committee. I recommend it for the board's approval.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Regent Clare approve or move this motion, please?
I will move approval.
And would Regent Miller second it, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions regarding this motion? Please call roll.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Clare,
Yes.
Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Chairman Pillen, that ends the voting part here of the items. As we finish up here, there are numerous reports for your review.
Right.
Thanks, President Carter. That's the one we've been looking for. We will accept the reports on behalf of the board. Do we have a motion for a closed session?
I will
Chairman?
motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have one to read. I move the Board of Regents go into closed session as authorized by Section 84-14 revised statute of the state of Nebraska, protection of public interest, and to prevent needless injury to the reputation of persons who have not been represented in public hearing, for the purpose of holding discussion limited to the following subject: personnel matters involving members of the University of Nebraska staff.
Thank you. Do we have a second? If I could ask Regent Miller for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Regent Miller,
Yes.
Regent Moore,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Beal,
Yes.
Regent Hawks,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Ferris,
Yes.
Regent Pillen,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Claire.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Please let the minutes of this meeting reflect that the closed session shall be strictly limited to the discussion of the following subject: personnel matters involving members of the university staff. Thank you. Regents, we will be convening the closed session via the alternate video conference link previously provided to them, and then we will return to this media for adjournment. My clock says it's 12:30. Why don't we take a 10-minute break and reconvene closed session at 12:45, if that would work for everybody?
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.